Well, hello there. Welcome back. How are we doing? So I had to make sure my mic was actually turned down because I was doing a voiceover record just the other day. And if I hadn't turned the mic down, that would have been extremely loud for you guys. Anyway, let me finish getting set up here. I was working right up until the last second or two. Welcome back. Hope you guys had a good weekend and a good Monday. Welcome back to Ninja Pulls. We are back for the next 5 days. And yeah, getting awfully close to the Christmas holidays now, isn't it? Crazy. Let's open up chat here, see who we got. For all I know, nobody might be watching. Well, hello there. Hey, Belorda. Hey, Lily Dryad. Hello, Erin. Hey. Oh, this was really loud. My headset volume was still set too high. I actually turned it down before. That's why there was a delay between the screen flipping and me saying anything. Back with a capital B and exclamation mark. Exactly, Erin. Yeah, man. I'm doing alright, Lily Dryad. How are you doing? Had a very nice day yesterday, feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, reinvigorated, or just kind of slightly tired and sad that it is over. Saw some people yesterday, had some fun, had some drinks. It was very, very nice. First holiday-y sort of thing that I've done in a while. But yeah, we are back. We're back with another week-long schedule of fun and games. Quite a lot of stuff lined up actually for you this week. Today, a little bit more chill. I wanted to talk about favorite gaming moments in 2025. I mean, I'll talk about mine, but mostly I want to hear about yours. Because in preparing for this, I went back over the games that were released this year. And thinking, you know, writing down, oh, these are my top gaming moments. These are some of the cool ones. And these are some things that I wish I had... Well, the things that I missed, basically. And I think we can all guess which list was the longest by a freaking mile. It is becoming very difficult to be, like, a well-adjusted person who's into video games and wants to try as many things as possible. For a start, the cost is just ridiculous. The cost in monetary terms, in terms of time, there's just no way. No one's going to be able to do that. And yeah, sure, you could say the same with literature and film, but I don't know that it is quite as insanely difficult to keep up with cinema or big book releases as maybe it is to keep up with video games at the moment. This year, I don't know, in my head it wasn't that big a deal. It was a good year. But looking back, there were some huge releases this year. But first, before we get into all that, I made some other notes here which I want to start with. This is the part where if Maya was here, she'd put on the dun 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 ninja news bulletin thing. But I'm fine, just a little dizzy from consuming too much caffeine. Oh no! Can't have that. Well, while we're warming up, I thought I'd just share a couple of things with you. First of all, you may have seen this yesterday. We got the tragic news that Rob Reiner, the film director, and his wife had passed away. It also looks, in a crazy twist, like they were killed by their own son. But we're not going to dwell on that part of it. That's going to be all over the news in the coming days, weeks. What I wanted to dwell on just briefly was what an amazing filmmaker Rob Reiner was. For two reasons. One, because quite a few of his films are very important to me. And it's my stream, so to hell with it. I'm going to inflict this on you. But B, because Hey, Erin, thank you for that. Just to liven up the mood, cheer me up a little bit. Yeah, B, because Rob Reiner isn't a household name. I mean, some of you may be thinking, what? He's like one of the most famous directors ever. But, I don't know, you think of Steven Spielberg, James Cameron, even older directors, you know, Terrence Malick, and the likes of, I don't know, Alfred Hitchcock, for example. That's obviously much older, long since passed, but Rob Reiner, not as well known as perhaps he ought to be. People adore his movies without realizing that he made them. I don't know how that's happened. He kind of slipped under the radar. Like one of those bands where you're like, I'm vaguely aware of the name of that group, and then I sing you a couple of hits, and you're like, oh, that's them. I love that song. That's Rob Reiner, I feel like. So yeah, did you guys see about this? Any thoughts on that? Worst part for me to put this blurb. Don't worry about it. It's all welcome all the time. Somebody played the Minion Banana song while Rich Lambert was talking about his kid and like the difficulties that they have due to a specific condition. And luckily, Rich had the stream muted when he was on with us. He was just listening to me and Maya. More than enough. Poor guy. And so when he was talking about this, and someone just entered chat and used this blurb without really having any context, they just wanted to say hi. Oh my god, it was unfortunate. It's going to be hard to top that one. Yeah, anyway, so just to dwell on Rob Reiner for a minute, I just want to talk about how great, you know, not a household name, the way like your Spielbergs or whatever, but really, really impactful. I'd say at least as impactful as some of these guys. He was brilliant and directed some of my favorite movies. So get this. We've talked about this before on the stream. If you are a regular, you will recognize some of this stuff. But from 1984, check this out. Rob Reiner made the following movies. Spinal Tap. Well, this is Spinal Tap, to give it its full title. Stand By Me. The Princess Bride. When Harry Met Sally. Misery. A Few Good Men. Which I think was like 1992, 94. So in the course of just under a decade, he produced those movies. That's a hell of a run. Maybe the best continuous run of movies made by any director ever. They're all of them like amazingly good. Amazingly good. Like people, all of those are phenomenal. Like even if you haven't seen them, if you have no idea who made them, I guarantee the vast majority of people have heard of those movies. So if there was a movie on that list that I just said you haven't seen yet, maybe now's the time. The guy's no longer with us. He definitely had more movies in him. He just made Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, or whatever it's called, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm definitely going to track down now. Yeah, so maybe now's the time. Even if you're into movies, if you're hanging out on the stream, chances are you dig some good storytelling in whatever medium. And quality work is quality work, you know, it enriches our lives, whether that is a great piece of hip-hop, a cool sculpture, you know, a ballet, a movie, a video game, it doesn't matter. Even if we're not always sure how the fuck we're supposed to appreciate it, on like an essential fundamental level, we usually get it. And movies are very easy. It's like, they're like pop music, they're like the most accessible medium, because the whole point of how movies are made is that they are supposed to mimic and sort of imitate the way that we dream. That's why they make a weird kind of sense. Even though perspectives change. You know, the camera cuts from a wide shot to a close-up. Different characters appear to have POV or whatever. This is how we tell stories to our own minds when we're asleep. And this is not my insight, obviously. That is a very well-known theory of cinema. Is that is why it works so well. Because it mimics the function of dreams. And I would argue that it is extremely accessible. Even though not every film tries to be, you know? So yeah, give it a go. Spinal Tap. Stand By Me, Princess Bride, A Few Good Men. These are all, like, favorite films of mine. Capital F, capital F. Stand By Me is such a great movie, Ballord is saying. Yep. I love it. Of all of his films, I think that one might be my favorite. And it launched the careers of Will Wheaton, Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, and River Phoenix, of course, who's no longer with us. But also Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, he was a bit older. But like all of these guys, all of the main cast went on to do amazing things. And Will Wheaton would have done even more amazing things if Star Trek hadn't been... Because he went on Star Trek as the kid, as the boy, Wesley Crusher. And if he hadn't been on there, I get the impression he would have had a very different career trajectory. But apparently that was not a great experience for him in a lot of ways. Yeah, Aaron, I put the blurb in when he talked about mine, but by the time I posted the blurb, topic moved on. I've seen A Few Good Men. Yeah, what a great film, right? And that is the one that launched the career of Aaron Sorkin, who went on to make The West Wing. I haven't actually seen it, but my sister loves it, which means it can't be that bad. Like, loads of people love The West Wing. Aaron Sorkin, very famous for... And let me see if I can imitate an Aaron Sorkin shot. He will do this. He'll have characters walking towards the camera down a corridor, talking to one another, and they'll talk very, very, very fast. Because Aaron Sorkin has an awful lot to say in his scripts, so they have to talk very, very fast. Otherwise, the movie is going to be 3 hours before they can get all the dialogue in. That is like, of course, he's more than that. There's more to him than just that. But characters walking down corridors, talking very fast, is like an essential trope of that writer. But Lord, as a teenager, I went to the cinema almost every week, especially during the summer holidays. Wow, I never did that. In fact, a lot of my movie viewing has been at home, like catching up on classics and stuff like that. Like, recently Maya and I watched a Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing movie from 1976, I want to say. So Peter Cushing, right before he was in Star Wars, you know? Called The Satanic Rites of Dracula. And, man, it was a lot of fun. It wasn't a typical Hammer horror. Like, for me, Hammer horror is all about the castles, the gothic, the period setting. The films almost look older than they are, you know? No, but this was not that. This was very modern. Obviously, 70s. It was like 50 years old now. But it was very much... I don't know, it struck me as like a horror story, a Dracula story right from the middle of the Cold War. And the stakes were really high. It wasn't just, you know, these few people or this young man or this village is in peril. The entire world will die in agony if this bad guy gets his way. It was that kind of modern... almost cosmic horror in its like scope. Really, really fun, really cool. And some of the special effects were great as well. There's a horrendous bit where Dracula hypnotizes someone who's holding a... It's a very hokey device, but this sort of old, powerful white man, classic villain type, is holding a vial of deadly disease, which they were going to use as like an insurance policy, but now Dracula says, no, we're going to unleash it on the population. And there's like a really horrible close-up of Christopher Lee's face as his eyes become red, like bloodshot red. I don't know how they did that, but they, like, the eyes become red in front of you, and it looks really horrible. This is 1976, so there's no CG. It has to be done practically, almost everything, and in camera. So, yeah, whatever they did, it was great. If it was a prosthetic of some kind or a comp, I don't even know. And then the guy hypnotized squeezes the vial of disease so hard that it breaks in his hand and goes all over him, and then of course he's like stumbling around the room going, "Rah!" Gradually getting more and more fucked up while his skin erupts with this horrendous pathogen. And the I mean, it was sort of funny from a vintage horror standpoint, but man, the special effects were gruesome. Really, really good. Luzor Drone, good morning. How you doing? My lord, I lived in a small town. Not much to be done there for children/teenagers, so we would take the train to Cologne and watch a movie. Sounds awesome. I used to go to the movies a lot when I was a teenager. My parents would take me as a kid, and yeah, I mean, it was a thing that girls and guys would do. We were too young to date, but we would. I don't know. We couldn't go to a bar. We couldn't book a restaurant, but you could go to the cinema. And it's a way to go and do a thing which isn't at your parents' house or hanging out in a car park somewhere. Hey, Shapeless, Erin, Lou. Welcome on in, guys. We were talking about Rob Reiner, who very, very sadly passed away yesterday. I think he and his wife were found dead at home. So we were just talking about some of his movies. I love, love, love Stand By Me. Just an awesome piece of work. If you don't know it, it's about 4 kids in 1950s America who basically there's a missing kid. This is all in the first few minutes. There's a kid their age from a neighboring town who's gone missing. They overhear that someone's found his body, but they can't tell the cops because they stole the car, and then the cops would know. So these 4 kids are like, yeah, if we find the body, we can go and be on TV. And it is a short story by Stephen King. I think it might even be partly autobiographical, because that would have been when he was a kid. Just beautiful. It's so funny, so poignant, and all 4 of the young actors do, like, amazing work. It makes me very sad that River Phoenix died so young. Every time I see this movie, every time I see anything with him, Joaquin Phoenix has gone on to do such amazing things, but River Phoenix's brother was like, he was the one everyone was watching. I think he OD'd in a club in LA sometime. Johnny Depp and Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers might even have been there. Celebrity buddies. But yeah, what a film. What a film. Aaron, I think I went to movie theaters like 15 minutes in total in my whole... 15 times. 15 minutes? What was the film? It sucked. 15 times. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair amount, but it's not a lot. Yeah, what is it, just the experience or just a lack of interest in the films, or what do you think? Because you can have a shitty experience in a movie theater. Absolutely. Just let me sort out my competing windows here. There we go. My characters all look so insane now because we dressed them up for the festive season. They all look completely wacko. Like, you definitely cross the street if you saw that person coming down the lane towards you. Ah, good day, Shapeless. How you doing? Saying hey to Erin there. But Lord, going to the movies is also educational. Watch some in English with and without subtitles. Nice. I don't think I ever saw anything without subtitles in the theater in Denmark or England. I probably could have gone to see a Swedish movie in Denmark, and well, that wouldn't have had subtitles, but that is... don't think that counts. And also, as a kid, not that interested in seeing Swedish cinema. It was generally Hollywood stuff that we were most interested in. Like, you know, Jurassic Park, the dinosaur movie if you're a little kid. Everyone's saying, hey, Shapeless. But Lord, there were weeks, we went Monday to Wednesday because tickets were discounted on those days. Nice. Man, I remember taking a couple of girls to see the Blair Witch Project. There's no way that... hang on. I was going to say, if that movie was an 18, there's no way I was anywhere close to 18. It must be a 15, and I blagged my way in, because I wouldn't even have been 15 when that came out. But yeah, I remember taking a couple of girls to see that. One of them had to leave. If you've seen the movie there, it is very, very frightening. Okay? It can fail to land, like if you watch it in a well-lit room on a small TV. And if you've seen a lot of found footage films before that copied the Blair Witch Project in the decades since, yeah, it's not going to work so well. But yeah, because it's not very gory, there's no sex, there's very little violence in it of any kind. It's got a very low certificate. It's probably the best way you could scare the shit out of someone without breaking the rules of, like, you know, age-appropriate cinema. And one of the girls who, bless her, was not into that kind of stuff. I think she was there to hang out with me. She couldn't take it. There's a scene really early on when they wake up and they find that someone has made little piles of rocks around their tent, like 3 piles of rocks with their tent perfectly in the middle, like a ritual of some sort. And this girl was like, no, I'm gonna have to wait outside. And when we left the cinema, we found that she was waiting outside for us. It's like, oh, that's awkward. So she just sat there for the next hour. Ah, good times. Yeah, and I think because you're a kid and you don't really care, it's more about the hang of going to the cinema. I saw some really good shit when I was really young that I never would have rented that film or anything like that. I remember seeing The Pianist because a friend of mine was like, oh, let's go to the cinema. I didn't even ask what was on. But that Adrian Brody film, the Roman Polanski movie, holy crap, powerful filmmaking. I also saw, like, American Pie and shit like that. Finding Nemo, you know? But I remember seeing Insomnia and The Pianist and, like, other really, really magnificent, serious films in the cinema as a kid. These are probably things I would never have watched otherwise. Like, I would never have bought the DVD or whatever. Erin, movie experience was fine and all, but never really had the combination of free time and money. Gotcha. Yeah, there needs to be a convenient... like, there was a cinema very near where I lived. I could literally just walk there. And it was quite a nice one. I was born in a small city which only had 2 theaters, and they were not nice. Alright. Yeah, well, there we go. That's the crucial thing. Lord, at some point, each birthday party was going to the movies as well. Wow! So you are probably kind of a cineast in a way which we've not tapped that particular vein yet, have we? Of in terms of conversation. I've seen The Pianist, the one set in World War II. Yes. Yeah, the only I think I remember a lot about seeing that movie in the cinema, but there is a horrendous moment in the film, which I'm going to describe. It's not a spoiler. There's nothing to do with the plot. It's simply early on in the film where the Jewish family is hiding out. They've been put into the ghetto. That's the way it is. And the Nazis are coming around, knocking on doors, and they look across the street to this family this other Jewish family who are having dinner. And the window and there's this sort of balcony, and they can see through the window. The curtains are open. They can see the whole family at the dinner table, and they see the Gestapo or whatever come on in and just harass them, basically. And they point to the grandfather at the end of the table, who's sitting in a wheelchair. And they're like, oust him, on your feet, on your feet. And the guy's in a wheelchair, he can't get up. So they pick up the wheelchair and throw him out the window. And they're like 3 stories up. And all he can do is just scream as he drops out of the window, face first into the street. And it is like, is a real, like, that movie trope of killing the cat or saving the cat, when somebody or a group of people commit an act early on in the narrative. Typically, there's a screenwriting book literally called Save the Cat, which is about this concept and others. Hello there, how you doing, Likes Play Catch? Where, you see a character save the cat or do something equivalent. Rescue a kid from being bullied. Harry Potter does this all the time, right? He establishes himself as the good kid by intervening when someone's being bullied. The opposite of that is you see a character doing something despicable, and that is going to be your villain. If you play the Far Cry games, or if you watch any action movies, you'll generally see this happen very early on. The bad guy will do something really, really awful in the opening moment. Something really cruel, which just establishes, alright, fuck you. Fuck that guy. And we all look forward to them getting a beatdown at the end of the movie. Polanski just took that idea and just cranked it all the way up in terms of it's the most sickening thing, like stomach-churningly inhumane. Like, ugh. And my friend sitting next to me laughed. It was a nervous laugh. He wasn't being anti-Semitic but we were kids and we shouldn't have been watching this movie. And he was just taken aback by the absurdity of it. And the way that the old man kind of screams pathetically as he drops out the window. And my friend just went like that. Just a little 1-second outburst of chuckle. 100 people turned around in their seats to look at us. And I just they didn't know it wasn't me who'd made the noise. I remember just sinking down into my seat oh, that is awkward. Ryan, you absolute twat. Erin, in my experience, closing ears, not the eyes, is very helpful when feeling scared by a movie. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, the sound does a lot. That's a lot of what puts you on edge and makes you jump. Have you seen Jojo Rabbit? No, I heard very mixed things about that. I heard that it treats the whole World War II thing with a cartoonish, childish... This is not a friend of mine. This is a review, the first review I heard of the movie. And I've heard some very good things since, and I like Taika Waititi, who made the film. Thought Hunt for the Wilder People was great. But, yeah, I heard that it is incredibly disrespectful. Or some people have found it to be extremely disrespectful in taking something so heavy and treating it with such a frivolous manner. But I don't know if I'd feel that way. This is about a little boy and a little girl, one of whom is... The boy, he's a sort of a Hitler Youth type, isn't he? But he's 5. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just enthused by the whole thing that's sweeping through his country. He wants to be a part of something. And his mum does not have any truck with the German government at this time at all. And they take in is it a young Jewish girl to hide her? And it's about his experience, right? Am I thinking of the right film? I must be. But yeah, some reviewers absolutely tore it to pieces. Especially because the filmmaker he's very clever. He makes very good cinema. And they're like, no, this is spectacularly misjudged. Don't do that. But I couldn't say, I haven't seen it. But I'd quite like to. I like a film that divides people. That's often a really good sign, isn't it? And but Lord, I really had nothing in my city, nothing. I had to go to other cities for everything fun-related. Sounds like fun. Like some like, hey, everyone in chat. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Good morrow, Le Bearded Joker. How you doing, sir? Can we get a shout-out? There we go. Fossibot already on it. Yeah, I'm thinking of the right movie. Thanks, Erin. Hey, Joker. How you doing? What's good, man? We are talking about movies because I'm very sad about Rob Reiner passing away. No more Rob Reiner movies. And while I'm sure his finest work was almost certainly behind him, that doesn't make it any less tragic. You know, we'll never get any more. I mean, he just made a sequel to Spinal Tap. Who knows what else we would have gotten out of him. And I'm sort of making the argument that he deserves to be or rather, not so much him, because he wouldn't care, but his films and his role in making them, you know, deserve to be a household name in the way that Spielberg is tossed around as this sort of master filmmaker. And I'm not arguing that isn't justified. It totally is, as far as I can tell. But Rob Reiner is not as well recognized as perhaps he should be, given the impact and the popularity and the brilliance of a lot of his movie making. Who saw Misery? Again, another Stephen King adaptation. This is about a novelist who crashes his car in the like somewhere in the wilderness, and some local finds him. Some local lady finds him. So, oh my God, you know, she like saves his life, takes him back to her place and patches him up, but then she won't let him leave. And it doesn't sound, on the face of it, doesn't sound like that would necessarily be an amazing 90 minutes. But oh boy, Kathy Bates, James Caan, it's pretty much, they're practically the only characters in the whole film. It's great stuff. Especially because Kathy Bates, I feel like, has since become famous for, she's like the mum in The Waterboy. And she often plays slightly comical southern dames, you know, grand dames from the South. Bobby Boucher, you guys remember that from The Waterboy? And she's great at that. She's amazing. I love Kathy Bates. But this role, something else. That was a lot of fun. Libido Jug said, I'm well, thank you. Just been chilling on Battlefield 6. How are you? Not too bad. Thank you very much for asking. We are, actually, speaking of Battlefield 6, I'm gearing up to do a bit of a rundown of 2025 in gaming. My favorite, obviously from my perspective, my favorite moments, things that I thought were cool, and things that I missed out on. And Battlefield 6 is very much, I mean, I chose to miss out on it because, you know, you gotta. You haven't got an infinite amount of time, so we choose the things that we're going to make time for. And Battlefield 6 is one of those things. I wish I had time to jump into this, because a rejuvenated Battlefield series is a very interesting and fun thing. That's just some cool shit. But I was very glad to see it happen. So yeah, I've made some notes in preparation for today. And that was definitely in the mix. And yeah, good use of the phrase good morrow as well. Good morrow, good sir. Lord, we watched this one World War II movie during my French lessons. Sadly, we weren't able to finish it. I don't recall the title, so I was never able to finish watching it. It was really good, and I hate the fact that I don't know how it ends. Was it German? Was it an American movie? You never know. Someone in chat might know exactly what you're talking about. And Saran Wrap, check out the leaks for the next expansion. You talking about ESO? If so, I cannot. I think it's okay for the guys who do data mining to post stuff on their Discord and whatever, but yeah, you can't. We can't talk about any leaks on stream, sadly. And also, I haven't looked at it anyway. I'm not. I'd actually love to understand. I bet a lawyer would say the same. I'd love to understand this better. When something is, you cannot say that someone has broken the law by looking into the game files that something is leaked, but to then broadcast it or to make content about that is apparently. If it was a French movie, well, I'm almost certainly not going to be able to help then. I don't even know what you mean. Saran Wrap, cool name by the way. But I will definitely check that out after the stream today. I'll have a look. Funnily enough, we've actually got a video coming up very soon about... It's purely speculative. And it doesn't involve any leaks or anything like that. But saying what... You know, looking back at 2025 in ESO specifically and saying, what do we think? And it is very, like I said, very speculative. We don't know shit. We're just... making educated guesses, sometimes uneducated guesses. So what do we think might happen here? Where might we go based on this, I think we used the word trajectory a couple of times in the video. And, I don't know, it's very much Maya's project. She kind of put together the info and the framework for this video. Maya, by the way, is my wife, the other half of Ninja Pulls. She's not here with us at the moment, but ideally... we want to be a channel where both of us are streaming together most of the time. But, we can't support that currently, so she's still part-time content creator while I am full-time on this. But yeah, it was really interesting to put it together. There's a much stronger through line in 2025 than I'd realized. In terms of what Zos are preparing to do. Of course, we're guessing completely. We're in the dark here, but yeah, it was a surprisingly fun project. So I'll do my best to get that video finished. Well, I'll be working on it later this afternoon, and hopefully up for you guys in the next couple of days. In the meantime, likes to play catch. Yeah, she kneecaps his ass. Ties him and puts blocks either side of his legs. Sledge it. Yeah, I mean, why would you give us all the details, dude? Did you know how this works? I actually don't think spoilers are such a big deal. But people hate them. The internet hates spoilers. I think spoilers are best avoided. But think about it. If the movie really relies on... like, think of a moment in Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, or a Harry Potter film where, or just anything like that, a dramatic, epic style of adventure movie where a main character dies. When somebody buys the farm and you don't see it coming. If all the impact of that moment is taken out by the fact that you knew it was coming, then it's just not a very good moment. It's not a very good film. Sure, it's better not to know that such and such is going to die, but it shouldn't spoil it completely, is what I'm saying. So I think it's a little bit like some of the knee-jerk reactions we get from left and right. You know, people being triggered on the internet. I think we could do a little bit of that when it comes to spoilers as well. But that was a bit of a tangent. Likes to play catch, but just describing all the awful things that she does. Talking about Khan and Maya, yeah. You wanted to make a Mind Goblin D's nuts joke, but I can't even say the words. Oh no, what did I do? I see what you did. I see what you did there. Very good, very good. So in fact, there is no extra leak for me to check out. It's been a while, to be honest. There is a data mine, a group of folks that data mine the game files for ESO quite regularly. And to be completely honest, I think Zos generally know what they're doing but by putting certain things out there. I'd be disappointed if they didn't at this point. It's like, just keep it out of the game files. But yeah, there are things that do make their way in early, and if you're really trawling through the data, you can pick up on interesting things. This is where the idea of having skill lines from different classes, we first became aware of that months before it was actually announced officially. Most people thought, and I think everyone hoped, it was bullshit. That it was either, a test function or something that hadn't been finished yet. Because originally, almost everyone was like, subclassing? No. Most people came around to it very quickly. Some more people followed. There's a hardcore that refused to accept it. But, yeah, I think initially it was one of those weird things, people don't like change. That was a great example of that. None of us wanted it. Or very few of us were positive in the first moments that we heard about subclassing. It just seemed like it would break the game. Break the fun, kill the fun. What's the point of having more than one character? All these questions. But after thinking about it, and certainly after playing it on PTS, most people chilled out. Alright, let's catch up now. So, like Split was in great film. Up there for me with The Stand, too. Another Stephen King adaptation, which is really good. Shawshank, another Stephen King adaptation. Really solid. Lily Dry, another class. Rework changes only active when you go pure class. No, they all work everywhere. We just don't know really what they are. We know a few of the DK things. Honestly, I think the thing that is going to impact people the most is probably not what they're asking for, which is, we want tooltip changes, we want you to rebalance this, that. The fact is, it doesn't matter how closely classes are balanced together in terms of power, people are still going to go for the meta. Even if the meta is only 0.001% better than, it's not going to take much for everyone just to flock to one thing in a specific context. So I actually raise a bit of an eyebrow at the community calling for, we need these value tweaks in our tooltips right now. I mean, it would be nice. The gap is way too wide at the moment. Absolutely. But I think the more significant thing that ZOS are going to be doing next year, with at least, I guess it would be Dragon Knight and Warden at the very least, probably 4 classes. I can't remember the order off the top of my head, but they have told us the order in which they're doing it, is the UX modernization. So the sound, the animation, the visual effects, just the way that it feels to play the thing. Also the way that the tooltips kind of interact with one another. Which, again, they haven't given us anything specific, except they told us something about a stacking damage buff for DK. Sounds like it's a bit more sophisticated than the whip. Seething Fury. But I think stuff like that, underlying mechanics, like Crux, like Corpses, like Seething Fury, not things as simple as like Bound Armaments or Grim Focus. Stuff which is more fundamental, works across the skill line, and these like updates to how it feels to cast a skill and have it be impactful, because they're doing the two-hander. I don't think they're making any changes to it. They're not making any major changes here to the passives or anything, but they are doing a modernization of the animations and the UX and all that stuff. Until we get our hands on it, it's very difficult to say. It might be just slightly better, but it could be like an enormous improvement. I really hope it is, because UX is fucking everything. Even when we're not thinking about it, it's there in every moment that we are interacting with our keyboards or controllers or whatever, and we're seeing the game relay that stuff on screen. And yeah, I mean, if they can level that up, even just a 50% improvement, it would be great. And if they can do like a really significant upgrade in how it feels to play Dragon Knight, Sorcerer, whatever, it's almost more important than the other stuff, I would argue. Do you know what I mean? How many games have you loved the combat, but not given a flying fuck about what the numbers are that you're generating in that moment. But it's just, this feels amazing. I don't even care if that's a 20 or a 25. I'd say that's most combat in most games that have it. I realize MMO, live service games, a little bit different. But yeah. Erin, below there are 72 French movies based on World War II. We can go through them one after one and find the one you wanted to finish. Probably knock a few of them off based on your memories. Erin, you talking about Khan? Yeah, sorry, missed the context. Luke, I am your father. Spoiler. Isn't that one of those where the Luke, I am your father isn't actually the line? Isn't it just no, I mean, I'm not actually correcting you, but it's like with Star Trek, everyone says, beam me up, Scotty. At no point is that ever said on Star Trek anywhere. I think that's correct. Which is kind of fun. Erin actually found the movie for me. That's amazing. So that didn't take long. Just narrowed it down. Bro, is it worth being on the ESO stream team? It depends. It doesn't really change anything that I do. I think the main thing, I can't, like, just shit talk other people that are on the stream team. But tearing down other streamers isn't really a thing that I want to spend my time on anyway. Like, who gives a shit? Like, if someone does something awful, maybe we'll talk about it. But, yeah, like, starting beef with other content creators isn't really... I think that has its niche appeal. And, yeah, we can't just sit here and talk absolute crap and make up lies about the studio. Eventually they'll find out about it, and... But it doesn't really affect... Now, there are people on the stream team that don't stream ESO that much, even. So I think, and that you don't get a lot. We get some codes that we can give away. I think if you are a partner, that might be a bit more. But I don't really know the details. You'd have to ask Maya about that. Saran Rapper wishes us would change the way traveling skill point changes work. Instead of gold, they ought to use soul gems. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, there are a lot of things in this game which I think you could look at if you were a completely fresh pair of eyes coming in. And so why does it work like that? And if you follow the paper trail back, you'll discover that it works this way because of some design document that was drawn up in 2012 and has long since been abandoned, but it's sort of been grandfathered into the way that the game is built. And it's just followed, because that's the way it is. That's how, you know, I've never worked at ZOS, I've never even visited their office, but I bet, I've worked in enough office contexts that I bet they are vulnerable to the same things that offices around the world fall victim to. And one of those is just inherited ways of doing things. You get into a pattern, well, this is how we do it here. And sometimes those are good. Like the way that they were able to churn out massive amounts of content over the last 8 years. I don't think there's any other MMO that's generated the sheer volume of new PvE content every year. But of course, quality versus quality. And I think only because of ingrained practices and, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't want to call it a production line, because that seems really, like, reductive and not very complimentary. But you know what I mean? Like a very efficient, machine-tooled way of churning out content at a particular quality level and of a certain format. You know, that's what they've been doing. And that's one of the things that they're waving goodbye to in 2026, apparently. Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what it all means. And Lily Dried, for me, it depended on what way subclassing would be implemented, because if you say subclassing, it can mean a variety of things. Right. Yeah, but as soon as people saw the almost complete erosion of barriers between classes, oh, so my warden healer's just not going to be a warden anymore. You know, I'll keep green balance and that's it. You know, within minutes of hearing the announcement, people had made certain predictions which were 100% correct. Oh, everyone's just going to use Fate Carver and Radiant Oppression. Turns out the Radiant Oppression thing wasn't quite the way people expected, because Zos had some plans for that. But by and large, we predicted a lot of the new dynamics within moments of seeing the subclassing announcement. Yeah, very interesting. But order, yeah, so I need all the soul gems for my healing burst. No. So the soul gems fast travel uses crown gems. I feel like I quite enjoy having the soul gems for rezzing. I don't want to be running out of those. Either rezzing myself after a wipe or rezzing dum-dums who fall over during dungeons. And I'm grateful that other people have their soul gems when I do the dum-dum and I need to be rezzed in a dungeon or trial. Has been known to happen. Design document, you mean the holy books? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, effectively, that is what we're talking about. The way that a perfectly decent and well-meaning design brief is written up, and a code of practice. They even talked about this. I don't really know what they mean by it, but they talked about this in the recent Reddit AMA when they were talking about hybridization, and the devs were getting some shit for hybridization not being finished. You know, potions, consumables haven't been done yet, and I think it was Brian Wheeler. I feel like it's always Brian Wheeler when it's a very awkward question that he can't give a satisfying answer to, and just people get annoyed with him. He said something about, yeah, the standards that we have in place, the consumables actually don't adhere. They're wildly overpowered according to this, the standards that we've set for ourselves. So if we start messing with them, theoretically we would have to then roll them, rein them in so that they adhere to those standards, and that players wouldn't like that. That's one of the reasons we haven't touched them. And everyone was like, what? So you can't change them because you've made a rule saying that if you change them, you have to make them weaker. So you're just going to leave them the way they are, like, not quite functional? Why don't you just ignore the rule that you set for yourselves? You made it, you can break it. But evidently, there's something about it which isn't quite as simple as snapping your fingers, and maybe some sort of brief or design document which needs to be amended. Like an ESO constitution? Fuck no, I don't know. But I cannot imagine he would just roll that out as a lazy way to bat away the questions. I think he would just say, we'll get to it, we just haven't had time. We'll get to it. But it was a really intriguing response, and it begs the question, what kind of, what rules are we talking about? How when were these implemented? When were they updated? How often do they get updated? I have so many questions, but at the end of the day, as long as hybridization gets finished, I don't even think it's that urgent a priority, but it would be nice if they finished rolling it out to consumables as well, right? Yeah, that is a hell of a sync. So, Saran Wrap. And Aaron said, for broke people like us, they could make us watch a 30-second ad to allow us to fast travel. Oh, no. No. Can you imagine that? Jeez. Just an ad for Elder Scrolls 6 every time you hit a loading screen. It's just a picture of Todd Howard's face. Just a still. It says, stand by. And then one day it changes and everyone goes ape shit. Oh! But Lord, if in combat, consumes a soul gem to generate 3 ultimate up to once every 5 seconds. So yeah, I really need many soul gems. Well, need is a bit strong. Like, most healers do not use that skill. But yeah. When you got it, you got it. I agree. It's like, if you're in a group where heroism potions are required, they're required. There's no way around it. You just got to do it. Aaron, did you just call me a dum-dum, Khan? No. I specifically did not. No, he meant me. That explanation does not make sense to me. No, exactly. Exactly. It didn't satisfy anyone. Which is why I feel for Wheeler sometimes. I feel like he's the guy at the high level who's got almost too much dev perspective and not enough player perspective to really answer our basic ass questions sometimes. I don't know, but it's so hard to wrap your head around what exactly the devs are doing, and that's why with any game, especially live service games, when customers are seeing the game be updated in what they perceive as real time, and what we don't generally have a sense of is that what we're seeing now, that's just been announced, it's going live next week. The work on this started months ago, maybe a year ago, and yeah, as customers, we're just not geared to think of the game like that. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, you had to res me so many times last week. Did I? Are we talking Griffin? When you were tanking the Griffin on your healer? Yeah, mistakes were made. Or rather, not even mistakes, just the bodies were dropped. But I got minor courage on the skill. Boom. Black Gem Foundry and Griffin at Chimera. Yeah, I was thinking of the Griffin, exactly, yeah. Well, ducking back briefly into Rob Reiner, which started with half an hour later, or almost an hour later. What else did I have here? So yeah, if you wanna sort of commemorate the passing of Rob Reiner and the contribution he made to cinema, if you're a massive fan like I am, or if you haven't seen some of his movies, the ones in question in particular I was talking about are Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and A Few Good Men, which he made pretty much back-to-back over the course of just under a decade. And I remember a movie podcast I used to listen to, they were trying to come up with the best unbroken run of great movies that a movie maker, that any director had ever had. And I think the best they could come up with was David Cronenberg and Rob Reiner. So yeah, Spinal Tap, if you're into old school metal, it's really celebratory. It really gets you pumped for the whole genre of rock and roll and metal. And it's fucking hilarious, and Rob Reiner's actually in it. Hi, I'm Marty Bergman. What's his name? Marty Berghaus. The one where the dog chases the little covered wagon under the sink. That was mine. He's the presenter. So yeah, check that out. What an amazing movie. These go to 11. Fucking gold. Hey, Dark Metal, how you doing, man? We're talking about movies, so perfect. Boom, 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 boom. I watched a horror movie the other day with Peter Cushing in it, from 1976, I want to say. So right before he was cast in Star Wars 4, or just Star Wars, as it was called at the time. That was fun. What a handsome devil he was. What a great actor as well. Just love to see him on screen in anything. It was a Hammer horror movie, obviously. That's the main thing that he did. He and Christopher Lee. Big fun. How you doing, Dark Metal? Welcome on in. Happy Tuesday. And Belord is saying, yeah, guys, watch Stand By Me if you haven't. I can only echo that. That is one of my favorite films ever. My God. So good. The Princess Bride, also a classic. Again, if you're watching this stream, chances are you're familiar with fantasy tropes. You may have read a bit of Tolkien, Harry Potter, or at least watched the movies, you know? The Princess Bride celebrates the fantasy genre, you know, fantasy storytelling, and pokes a lot of fun at it in the meantime. And Carrie Elwes and Robin Wright have never looked so hot. My goodness. And also it's got Wallace Shawn in it. And of course it has the character of... Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You kill my father. Prepare to die. Apologies to the Hispanics around the world, but come on, it's a quote. I'm allowed to do it. Dark Metal, I have been summoned. You have, my man. Yeah, doing all right, thank you. How are you, sir? Agree, it's a great film. Yeah, another great movie is Dead Poets Society. I really like that one. Oh, Captain, my captain. Partly because I just love anything with Kurtwood Smith in it, who plays Neil's father, who's a real piece of shit in that film. Kurtwood Smith is usually a real piece of shit. Look him up. You'll recognize the actor. Kurtwood with a U. Amazing. But the Dead Poets Society, not for everyone. I would say that. But yeah, do yourself a favor. Start and, you know, queue up one of those movies. Since Maya and I started doing this, we keep bumping into gamers, people who just don't do film. That's not into it. They don't have anything against it. It's like, man, I've seen like 10 films in my life, and I'm 25, 30, whatever. These kind of people, and I understand how that happens if your parents aren't into it, if you don't really grow up with it being a thing in your household. But to me, it is also insane. It is like not listening to music. And again, I'm aware that there are people in the world who just say, I don't like music. But film is one of the most accessible forms of like cultural entertainment we have. Other than drinking, it might be the most accessible. So do yourself a favor and queue up one of those movies and raise a glass to Rob Reiner. Just trust me. And speaking of films, I found out yesterday, Heat, the Michael Mann movie, was 30 years old yesterday. Whoa! I actually didn't see that movie until quite recently, like a couple of years ago. If you haven't seen that one yet, you should also do your best to check it out. Now, it's not as easy as a Rob Reiner movie. It's like 3 hours long. It is a real motherfucker, but it's Michael Mann's most famous and probably his best film. It's got Al Pacino, Robert De Niro in like their famous first on-screen appearance together. You know, they are in The Godfather 2, but they are in different timelines in that movie. They never act with one another. Yeah, what fun. What's going on with this character? Why doesn't he have... Weird, okay.
Hello there.
Dark Metal, I used to love The Princess Bride, but it's been years since I watched it. I love the scene with Andre. Yeah, there are so many. Watch it again. You'll be amazed at how well it's dated. Because when it's corny, it's like deliberately corny. You know what I mean? I've run out of imp stool, apparently. That's the deal. What? Wild Saber just found out something amazing. The director of Zootopia's son has begged his dad to cast Keanu Reeves in the next Zootopia movie if it happens, and the son wants Keanu to play an assassin called Baba Llama. Is that for real? That could be funny. Dark Matter, yeah, should rewatch it. Absolutely. DPS for short, Dead Poet Society. I like it. Been busy, but I can't wait for it to be over. The Christmas thing, yeah. Like Split Catch, I grew up watching Die Hard at Christmas. See, I didn't see Die Hard until I was in my 20s. But yeah, I get it. Ho ho ho, now I have a machine gun. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Books, movies, and music, give me all of it. Yeah, put it in my veins. All the storytelling. Dark Metal, thanks to my mother, I got into horror movies. Made me fall in love with the Evil Dead franchise. Your mum sounds cool. She's single? Just kidding. No, your mum sounds awesome. That's like, I can't remember exactly what band it was, but Eggbirds was telling me, like, a couple of years ago, when we were first getting to know one another. Yeah, we were talking about the first music concerts we went to, like the first gig that we went to, and his was like Sepultura or some shit. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. He said, yeah, I was 4 or something. And his parents took him to, his mum specifically, took him to see like this death metal band. I don't think it was Sepultura, I think it was another like South American infused heavy metal thing. But how fucking cool is that? And they were on tour and they came to the Netherlands. And his parents were like, yeah, we're going, and we don't have a babysitter, so you're coming too. I guess he was just old enough to kind of understand what was happening. Wild Saber, alright, so yeah, you're just repeating that one, Wild Saber, thank you for that. Never seen Die Hard, Erin? Watch the first one at the very least. If you love it, then you can watch the next 2. Skip the rest. Do not watch the rest. No. Not worth it unless you absolutely adore the franchise. But the first one is excellent. Second one is good fun. The third one, it still works, I think. Not everyone loves it. And it tackles race in a very, very clumsy kind of way, but I'm willing to forgive it. I think its heart is in the right place. But a massive trope of those movies is of the super evil German bad guy, portrayed by an extremely posh Englishman on screen, Alan Rickman and Jeremy Irons, playing brothers. Hans Gruber and Simon Gruber, as he says in the film. Simon says, what? Die Hard's such a great Christmas movie. Yeah, it's a Christmas tradition on German TV, despite the Germans being the bad guys. I guess it's like the Brits, you know, the English and the Germans and the Russians, they're always the villains, aren't they? I should rewatch it. So many jokes went over my head when I was younger. Yeah. Hey, Dark Metal. No more rhymes now, I mean it! Anybody want a peanut? I think one of the things that you'll appreciate the most is the sheer number of actors that you know and love. You're like, oh my god, it's that guy. As a kid, you wouldn't have known who that was, or that it had any significance. But as an adult, you're like, holy shit, that's Billy Crystal? What? That's Chris Sarandon? No way. Big fun. Great soundtrack as well. What's so Christmassy about it? Well, it's an office Christmas party that gets they get taken hostage by terrorists, and it's all about a guy who's his marriage is on the rocks, you know, very, very much so. It's not going great for him and his wife. He doesn't want to break up with her, but he feels like she's drifting away from him, and he wants to reconnect with his family, his wife, his kids. So he flies out to LA. This is a New York cop. And you don't have to be an American. You just have to kind of have seen some American movies to understand the idea of a New Yorker going out to LA and just kind of calling bullshit on the whole thing. It's just they're very, very different places. A lot of countries have that north-south divide. I guess this is a little bit of that. That bi-coastal rivalry. And yeah, so at the end of the day, it is about sticking it to the man. You know, corporate idiots and people who've lost their soul are the ones that get get capped in this film, or who end up with egg on their face. And it's just, you know, it's the professional, hardworking, average Joe who, like, stands tall and is the hero and is celebrated in this movie. So that's very Christmassy, you know? Family, saving lives, and shooting terrorists. And there's lots of Christmas imagery in there as well, like the bit I just said, ho ho ho, now I have a machine gun. That's literally, he sends down a dead terrorist in the elevator with that, like, written on his chest. Very wholesome Christmas movie, absolutely. The story's set on Christmas, yeah. She's a happily married man, I like it. I don't want to anger Maya either. No, you don't want to do that. No, you absolutely don't want to anger the Maya. I'd say with the movie, Annabelle is a cute Christmas movie about a baby calf that wants to be a reindeer, and by the end she's old and loved by the farm boy, grown up, and Santa comes to her and makes her his lead reindeer. That sounds super cute. Unfortunately, when you say Annabelle, I think of the demonic doll. Dark metal, yo, isn't death heavy metal, but I can't wait for 17th of January to see Electric Callboy live in the Netherlands. Oh, that'll be fun. Those guys are a giggle. I imagine their live show is, it's not really my kind of music, but if I were out with some buddies and we're having a few drinks and that comes on, I'm gonna lose my shit. I prefer stuff that's a little bit heavier, a little bit darker, you know? Like, give me Opeth or Emperor or something like that, but I totally understand Electric Callboy. Totally get it. Party metal. Great fun. Die Hard 4 is a good film. Very realistic scenario that could happen. Wait. Likes to play catch. Do I need to rewatch it, or do you need to rewatch it? Are we thinking of the same film? This is the one with Timothy Olyphant in it, with the fire sale, right? Even if the terrorism as depicted is somewhat realistic, I still think the film is hot garbage compared to the first three. And even the first three are not, like, should we say, consistently excellent. I think the first one stands head and shoulders above any of the others. Although, I do love Jeremy Irons in the third one, and I love William Sadler in the second one. Holy crap, that scene. So this is the guy who plays Death in Bill and Ted, and he is one of the supporting characters in Shawshank Redemption. He's always there in the background doing great work. He very rarely gets the lead or anything quite like that. But in Die Hard 2, William Sadler is the rogue general. And there's a really, really creepy scene at the start where he is... God, it looks like he's spent a week in the gym and then has starved himself for 72 hours. And he's just been doused in baby oil. He's completely covered in baby oil and is like doing Tai Chi or something in his hotel. The muscles and the veins are just popping off him in a really disgusting way. And he's not a huge guy. He's just very, very buff and very skinny in that moment. And he's literally naked. Do you guys remember that bit? That's really disturbing. Somehow you know, based on that, despite the way he takes care of himself, this is not a good dude. If you're standing in your hotel room doing that creepy shit. Also, isn't Robert Patrick, as in the T-2000 from Terminator 2? Isn't he in Die Hard 2 as well? I want to say. Yeah, with a Santa hat on. Yeah. What's up, a grandma got run over by a reindeer. It's a classic movie. I haven't heard of any of these classic movies. That sounds fun. Another Christmas one that we do kind of like. They're not very original choices, but Scrooged with Bill Murray. And the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Very good. But Lordo, you might like a Spy X Family set in fictional Germany during the Cold War, East-West divide. It's a found family action comedy drama. Sounds amazing. Likes to play catch. Yeah, thought Die Hard 4 was a good film. Really enjoyed it. I remember enjoying it the first time. It's got Justin Long, right? And Timothy Olyphant. Is it Justin Long? Or am I mixing up? Is it the guy from Avatar who plays the sidekick? I want to say it's Justin Long. I can't remember. I saw it twice. And the first time I was like, oh, that was quite good fun. But I think the cracks really start to show. Like, there's a reason it was Die Hard 4 and not its own film, you know? Khan is fangirling. A little bit. Are you talking about the William Sadler comment? Honestly, watch the movie Lily Tried. You'll be like, holy shit. You've seen guys get into shape for movies before, but nothing like this. But like I said, the effect is creepy, not attractive. Deliberately so. Very cool. Alex Plakach, he's in, yeah, 2 in the airport in the scene where John goes to the Annex Skywalk. Maggie Q, this is number 2. Give it a peek below it. Nice. What else have we got? So who's going to watch Heat? It's 30. 30 years old it was yesterday. Still can't believe that. I'm going to pitch Heat to you guys after I've made this. Doug Mennel, don't know what it says about me and my little brother. We watch Happy Tree Friends on Christmas. It's a weird holiday ritual. If you know what it is, you know. I don't know what that is. Keine Ahnung.
What do you require of a son?
Is this not a thing that you want to explain? And Saran, bro, I just nabbed a perfected null Arca axe. Given my 5 pieces of the set. Now I have an empty void in my heart. I can only be filled with playing a warden. Does this make me a nature lover? I have no idea. Like, if you want to play all the classes, man. Just means that you're into the game. The combat system is connecting with something. I miss playing whatever class I'm not playing. You know? I've been playing a lot of Nightblade, Templar, and Arcanist recently. I miss playing Necro. I miss actually, Dragon Knight I've had some because, you know, Fate Carver plus Ardent Flame kind of thing. And I miss old school Nightblade rotations. The bow proc is practically the only thing we're using these days. Sometimes the execute, if you have room for it. But yeah. Annex Skywalk equals Robert Patrick in Die Hard 2. Yeah, you know, I got that, yeah. Yes. And Erin's saying, oh, that was an anime, but it is available on YouTube. I can link it to you. Just watch 2 episodes and you know if you like it or not. I see. Let's say it's a fun kids cartoon like Gorefest. Sounds amazing. It's fucked. Oh, that sounds awesome. So hang on. Everybody make a note who likes the sound of a kids cartoon like Gorefest. Happy Tree Friends. I'm going to send that to Maya right now. Happy Tree Friends. I'll look it up later. It's not a Christmas thing. It's just a thing that you guys do on Christmas. I could dig that. Whatever gets the inside outside, you know? Whatever makes you belly laugh, whatever releases a bit of fucking stress, tension, emotion, whatever it is, you know. Movies, music, video games, hanging out with people, socializing, these are all, you know, live events in particular. These can all be great for doing that. They could do a lot of other amazing things, but at the end of the day, from a mental health standpoint, you know, this is all very, very good stuff. Maggie Q's the Kung Fu chick in Die Hard 4. That's Timothy Olyphant's number 2. Gotcha. Yep. But Lord, I'm missing good old times, Magblade, Merciless Resolve, and Impale. Yeah, I don't miss Swallow Souls so much, but there's something about playing a Magblade in Asylum, just old school. That was just a bit of a unique game. It was almost entirely single target damage, and then you had a very high-powered laser, but with a very narrow beam, and you would just turn it at the correct target. You know? We need to kill the mini. Boom, boom, boom. Get rid of that protector. 2 seconds, dead. Being in a good team, doing... You know what? That is the thing I'd be willing to set up. A quality group in Asylum, +2, so the hard mode, and get as many mag blades in there as possible. You know, people have been playing quote-unquote classic ESO, where they forced themselves, the entire group, to use a comp from, like, 6-7 years ago. I think that'd be big fun, to do that in Asylum with mag blades. And you could go Stamblade as well, Bobo, but there was particularly something about that. Dark Matter Mark Target, don't know what morph is great too, but it gives a major berserk. Yeah. I occasionally will use that. I'll put that on a weakling in the trash pack. But mostly I use it in Overland. I don't really use it much in content. I see, yeah, some Christmas episodes. Dark Metal, gotcha. Yeah, Reaper's Mark. Like Split Catch still works, you just get 2 shots with Spec Bow. I guess, yeah. Different now, not the same experience. Stamblade, we go spin to win. Yeah, Stamblade with a spin to win playstyle. And pretty fun as well. Or Brawler, for that matter, the Masters 2H with Brawler, and then more recently Carve. In Trial Trash, especially. Like, holy crap, you could survive almost anything. When that Sulzan... Oh, what's his name? The Reaper? Yeah, the Reaper drops his Fisher AoE, and all the mag characters were like, oh, I'd better get out of that, I'm gonna die. Stamina character just standing in there, spamming Carve. Yeah, and what else you got? And just getting the most DPS on the trash because they don't have to wimp out of the AoE. Love it. Obviously, eventually you would die, but if your group was halfway competent, you'd be able to survive long enough. So I'm playing Stamnight Blade right now. It's hella fun. Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite. This one right here, this character, that's my main. She's not looking very Stambladey right now, because a few days ago we went through a lot of my characters and made them look suitably festive / idiotic. Especially this guy. Maya was like, what the fuck did you do to your mag blade? And I said, hey, he's looking like Krampus. That's how she pronounced it. Krampus with a rolled R. She's a Slav, so makes sense. And yeah, that part she understood. But yeah, Stamblade, bring it. It's the greatest. Like Split Catch, yeah, it feels completely different, but still viable. I missed the refreshing path, yeah, the Path of Darkness, twisting path in PvE. That was so good in groups. It's just fun to use, man. I miss it mostly for that. The visual effects, the animation, it's all very cool. Its only fault was being in the wrong skill line. Yep. From the post-subclassing perspective, absolutely, yeah. And Belorda, I'm also missing... I'm missing also pre-buffing Merciless Resolve, so really not the same anymore. I see what you're saying. Well, let's move on to favorite gaming moments of 2025. Okay, so I've got a short list here. So these are my favorite gaming moments from this last year. Right at the top, it has to be 10Fest, 10Fest, 10Fest. ESO 10Fest? ESO 10Fest. Which was in June of this year. Holy crap. Or was it July? That was amazing. If you missed it, that is a tragedy. But it was the most amazing event that Maya organized. She got, it was 10 days, 10 devs from ZOS, 10 different themes to celebrate 10 years of ESO, all that shit. It was magnificent. I don't think there's ever been a live creator organized event like it for any game ever on Twitch. This is why Ninja Pulse needs to be bigger. This is why we need to keep doing this. We gotta find a way, guys, for Maya to have time to arrange more of these things throughout the year. She's just so good at it. Amazing things happen when that girl is given the resources and time and the contacts to make it so. It's tragic that she is not able to be here full time. The amount of cool shit she would have done for ESO and other games by now. We would have had Cyberpunk events, probably more enshrouded events, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so much more would be happening, not just on this channel, but just on Twitch in general, if she were let off the reins. So please, please, do keep coming to watch. Keep sitting through ads. We know they kind of suck sometimes. And yeah, if you have been supporting via subscriptions, then please keep it up if you are able to make that monthly commitment. Thank you so much. So yeah, 10fest was absolutely the highlight for me. 10fest, what is that? Yeah. Mondo's the Reddit. Oh, you want funny? I have a wood elf Stanblade. She has a great sword that's taller than her. That sounds fun. Right, what have we got on the endeavors today? Oh, Dark Metal, thank you. Thank you for the cheer, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's a cheer for Maya right there. Yeah, it was fun to join. It was. It was really good. ESO 10fest, Erin? Yeah. ESO 10fest. I don't know what we're going to do next year, but we're going to do something like it. Hopefully bigger, better, harder, faster, louder. All of that stuff. Whoa! Erin, look at that. Erin, starting a hype train right there. Look at this. Thank you so much. Wow. Dark Metal, you know it. Well, thank you, Erin, for starting us off on that hype train. Really, really appreciate it. Welcome on in, everyone who just got a sub. And can we keep that thing going? Haven't had a hype train in a few days. And not just because we haven't been on. Hype train, let's go. Alright, now's the time, guys. If anyone else feels like Erin feels that, yeah, Maya should be here doing this stuff for us so that good things can happen to good people. Yeah, help to make it happen. We really, really want to get that over the line next year. And, yeah, I mean, of course, it has helped that we are beginning to talk to studios and other games and publishers about sponsored content, but that isn't really the long-term solution. The long-term solution is that we need to grow, and that's on us. That's not on you. But, yeah, it's great to have that shot in the arm going forward, knowing that people are there for it, people are supporting, so thank you so much. If you feel like contributing to that hype train, please do. We'd really, really appreciate it. Thank you. You have 3 minutes to comply. What an awful way to put it. Likes to play catch. Oh, on appearing first in category on Twitch for the Writhing Rave. That's an awesome highlight. Yeah, the Writhing Rave train, whatever we called it. Or the Raving. What did we call it? That was pretty cool. The Pain in the Axe. Yeah, he's definitely provided some very cool moments throughout the year. Shout out to Pain in the Axe. Can we actually get one even though he's not here? If you guys don't know the dude, he is a great streamer, does a lot of ESO PvP, plays some other games as well, but he is a DJ. He's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. He's getting some real pro, like, laser shows at some of his stuff now. I mean, he's in California, but yeah, if you're out there, get in touch with Payne and see if he's doing any shows. Thank you so much for the hype train, guys. I completely agree. Like, Split Catch is a great shout. Don't think my plans are in the smaller size races. Wonders the Red. I started playing Enshrouded. Cool. I really look forward to the full release of that game, and I really wish those guys all the best. We're thinking of approaching them to do a bunch of videos on the tech behind their game, because it's low-key super interesting. The way that everything is destructible, voxel-based. There's just a lot of tech that I would be really interested in understanding from a dev standpoint. And I think it's an area where studios can do a lot more. We are nerds. We want to know more about how these games are made. Man, give us all the stuff. Whoa! Speaking of giving us all the stuff, Dark Metal gifting subs as well. You absolute crazy legend. Thank you for the support. Wow, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. That is a hype train level 6. Now we're halfway through level 6. Anyone else wants to jump on board with that? That would be amazing. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate the support. Yeah, how are you finding it? The rats killed me twice. I'm having fun. It stays fun for a really long time. What I'm hoping is that they will find a way for final release. This is Enshrouded by Keen Games, a small German studio. Really, really interesting. It's sort of a survival game. Sort of a fantasy RPG. It's an interesting blend of several different things. It's very, very good. Dark Metal, you absolute hero. You've just made my day and Maya's. Want to see something cool? Weird, definitely nice. Thanks, Dark Metal. Thank you so much for showing us yours. No, hand on heart, man. It means everything when people are prepared to sit through ads or support in a more dramatic way. All of it is huge. Like, we just pack up and go and do something else. If that stops, you literally cannot make it work as just a bit of a hobby or as a thing that is purely supported by sponsorships. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But it just doesn't work. Not yet, but we will get there. I pledge to you right now. We will do everything in our power in 2026 to make this operation sustain itself better, make it bigger, harder, faster, louder. You know, higher quality streams are coming in the new year. We've got some hardware upgrades on the way. All that good shit. And hey, Vezok, how you doing? Welcome on in. And Mortis the Red, thank you very much, Dark Metal. I was about to say that Pain is my USMC brother. Different times, yet all Marines are family. I see, yes. Now, he's a really nice guy as well. I've met him in person. A real stand-up dude. He took us to a great club in Amsterdam. Unfortunately, we were so eager. He was so eager to like, oh, I've got to go here. Because it's like, who knows if I'll ever be back in this city. And this club is sick. We've got to go. So we all went there, and it was a little bit early. So we were kind of like the only ones holding up the bar for a while. And Skinny Cheeks just like throwing shapes on the dance floor by himself. That was fun. But yeah, eventually it picked up, and it was really, really great. Good shit. I hope one day I can get over to California and catch Pain at one of his shows. That'd be so cool. Vezok, hey nerds, hey Aaron, hey Dark Metal, yeah, how you doing? Vezok, hope you're having a good day. Dark Metal, not a problem at all. Aaron saying hello, Vezok. And thank you for the follows, guys. Umbra Mortis, thank you very much. Welcome on in. I keep looking at this, place 5 furnishings, and thinking, what type of furnishing? What type? I have to check. No, there is no type, just anything. That should be it. Yep, done. Oh, you're having a very rough week, Vezok, but you're managing. Well, I'm glad you're managing. And please do feel free to share, if you think it would help you. We don't want to pry. But if you can unburden yourself, even just a little bit, feel the fuck free, as my friends would say. But Lord, as a German, you can identify Enshrouded being German game because they place those clay pots called Bembel everywhere as a decoration. Bembel? Yeah, you're right, there are pots everywhere, man. That's true. Yeah, lots of love being sent to Vezok here. Thanks, guys. Look at that. We've got 30 seconds left on that hype train. It's already a magnificent train as it is, gleaming, glowing, speeding along. But if anyone wants to keep it going a little bit further and really, really make our day, 'tis the season. Please do feel free to jump in on that. 20 seconds left, but no worries. Thank you so much. For those who did, that's amazing. Love the support. This isn't for Twitch chat, but I can tell you in mod chat. Alright, feel free. We're here. Whenever we're here, if you know what I mean. Especially Maya. She's great at this. She's helped so many people with just, you know how talk therapy, often the talk is just the important bit. And, I don't know, sometimes your family, your buddies, they would love to help, but they just can't. Sometimes, I don't know why. So that goes for anyone who's in the Discord. If you ever do need to unburden yourself or just talk something through, give it a go. It doesn't have to be me or Maya. You can try any of the people who've got. It's a really lovely community, and very cool things have been known to happen. Just saying. All right, Endeavor's done for the day. Endeavor's done for the week. What are we going to do now? Crazy. Yeah, Choo Choo, thanks so much again, everyone. Aaron and Dark Metal especially, thank you. Alright, where were we? Gaming moments of the year. So 10 Fest was my number 1. Absolutely. What else happened this year? I'm struggling to remember. Oh yeah, Split Fiction. I know it didn't win Game of the Year at any awards ceremony, but for me, I think it might have been Game of the Year. Like, holy crap, it was so much fun. We're off to Northern Elsewhere. I was just blown away by... I was really impressed with it. But particularly how effortlessly it just... Why do I keep going to a way shrine? God damn it. How effortlessly it kept reinventing itself as you played. It was... I've never played a game before that remained so fresh. But without it being incongruent when it changed... It radically changed gameplay styles mid-fight. And it just worked. I love the guts they had in doing that. I love the technical ability of everyone involved making that possible. And just the cleverness of the design. Oh, what if we do this in that part of the fight? Or what if we tell a different story like this and we switch up the type of gameplay? A lot of it you can see the inspirations from other games, but that doesn't mean it's easy to recreate or that it's hack or anything like that. I was super impressed with it. I've rarely had so much fun in a video game. So Split Fiction was a huge one for me this year. I was interested. I had no idea I would love it as much as I did. Vezok saying, thank you, nerds. Yeah, man. The French game, winning Game of the Year, made me genuinely angry. It did feel a little bit like... You know when people make fun of the Oscars for being so fucking shallow and so disconnected and just... They get locked into a hype around a certain thing and then everyone just votes en masse in a way which is not really representative of how much better that one movie might have been than everything else that year. It did feel very much like that, but as far as I can tell, from everything I've read, everything I've heard, Clair Obscur did deserve a lot of accolades. Sounds like it was a genuinely singular achievement in game development. So, I'm never going to complain that a great achievement is celebrated, but yeah, I'm curious. What was it that made you angry about it? All of them had the same dress. Yeah, they all had the same outfit as well. They must have come very confident, right, to do that? Because they'd been nominated in umpteen categories. So they must have known they were going to win at least 4 or 5, and then it would be funny to be, to sort of self-label themselves in that way. Yeah, for those who didn't see, they were all wearing, like, stripy white and blue t-shirts and red berets and stuff like that. I'm sure if food had been allowed into the auditorium, the order would have been carrying baguette as well. But Lorda, yeah. How many do you have at your home? What are we talking about there? I missed something. Oh, I see. Yeah, how many of those do you have? None, because it was used to serve cider. It was only used for this purpose in one German state. Was it 9 out of 11? I thought they won 10. But I can't remember. I didn't follow that one that closely, to be honest. The Game Awards, just on a separate note, I'm not going to talk about the Game Awards a whole lot because I don't think they're particularly meaningful. Sorry, but I don't think they are. I'm glad to see people win, glad to see people get nominated, all of that stuff. But very, very briefly, the Game Awards and Summer Games Fest are basically invented events. They've basically been conjured out of nothing to make money for Jeff Keighley and his cronies. There's no doubt at all. Like, yes, sure, there is some benefit to the industry, the increased visibility. Devs who win, might have... But generally the people who win are not the underdogs. They're the ones who've already had tremendous success that year. And they don't do much to highlight indie games because nobody cares. It's all very curated and calibrated for maximum clicks and that kind of thing. Now, you could argue that is not the Game Awards' fault. That's just the way the world works. And I think there probably is an argument in that direction. And I think Jeff Keighley initially got involved with all this because he was part of the effort to save E3 during the pandemic. Right? The Electronics Entertainment Expo, which was a huge event every year that connected the hardware, the gamers, and the studios, the devs, crucially, making the games. And that proved difficult to resurrect. And I don't know the details, but at some point, Jeff Keighley and his backers, they just walked away and said, no, we'll make our own, effectively killing E3. Now, he made a lot of enemies when he did that. And there was a lot of articles written about how the Summer Games Fest is an abomination. And it is just a way to sell advertising to players and to sell advertising space to studios. They've somehow managed to do this dirty trick where they can charge left and right in both directions at the same time. And a lot of people said the same about the Game Awards. What I think they've done very cleverly with this year, because I saw not just the announcements, but a lot of the cool shit that went down on stage. I feel like they've seen that criticism coming, and they've made it into an event. It was like a cultural moment. Even if it's a little bit wishy-washy and superficial, but that moment where Lenny Kravitz comes out on stage because he's going to be in the Bond game, or when the entire cast of Street Fighter come out on stage and shit-talk the Mortal Kombat movies. It's just a hell of a show. You got to hand it to them. If they can do that every year and make it like a destination, you don't want to miss this because there will be announcements, there will be awards, there will be memes, there's going to be just funny moments that people will talk about for weeks, months. Then they're going to solidify their place. So I thought that was really smart, and it worked. What do you guys think? Aaron said, not enough German you are. That I see, yeah, the Divinity trailer. The orchestra's not going to play for free. Yeah, of course you can't put it on for free. But the entire exercise is extremely cynical. Especially last year. I think that was the low point for a lot of people. Watching Neil Newbon accept his award for his Astarion performance. And then he started to talk about representation in video games. Which, sure, isn't the thing that everyone necessarily wants to hear about. But it's a big deal, and it's a very big deal for some people. And it's something that should absolutely be on the agenda if you are the recipient of a major award and you want to have 30 seconds, 60, 90 seconds to just address it. You get the spotlight for a little while. And the music started and they just fucking shoved him off the stage. And that was just one example of many. I was kind of hoping that something would come of that, but no. We're not very discerning as gamers aren't the most discerning consumers. We can, when we get angry, we can be very, very effective in our blanket criticism or rejection or boycotting of a thing, but it's usually all talk. And gamers in general seem to be completely oblivious as to what is being pulled. But I guess the Game Awards were like, well, we can't risk that happening, so we gotta make things different this year. I felt like they did. You know? I dislike being German, Pelorda. What? Why? So many reasons. Also, don't own the mandatory glass ball every German household got. You know what? I've been in enough German households that I think I know what you're talking about. But I don't know if that's a German thing specifically. Is it? I have a few glass bowls if you want. Yeah. Rigor mortis, same. Hey, man, how you doing? I don't know, this rigor mortis, just some bloke. How you doing, man? But yeah, there are a lot of fun moments to catch up on. There were some cool announcements. I do feel like the arbitrary scheduling of it means that we get a lot of announcements that are very premature, aren't they? You got nothing to tell us about the new Tomb Raider game or that Galactic Racer game or, you know, Fate of the Old Republic. You got nothing. You got absolutely nothing to tell us. So why are we getting trailers for it? Just to start the ball rolling. But it's fun. It is fun. I get it. Can't blame anyone who stays up late and wants to watch the whole thing live. I didn't bother. I don't care enough. But anyway, back to favorite moments in gaming this year. Split Fiction, 10 Fest. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was a surprise for me. Not surprised that it was good. I was pretty much sure it was going to be excellent. But in that I actually found time to play it. And as a result, I got really sucked in and I went back and installed the first one and I've been playing them both. And yeah, just a real delight. They are not perfect. I think they're infuriatingly stubborn games at times. The combat system is weird beyond belief. Like, beyond belief. I cannot believe that a game which aims this high has that as its combat system. It works, but it is so weird and so irritating to learn. I think I actually like it more than most people, but yeah, it's still baffling at times. It's not a transferable skill. It is a a series of reactions which are useless in literally any other game. But I suppose you could say that about some of the stuff in ESO as well, like weaving. A little bit of a unique one. But yeah, loved it. No, how much fun was KCD 2? New Star Wars Old Republic is also a new studio just made this year. I believe so. Yeah. I mean, the game is in early development. So it almost feels like the announcement was for the awards as much as it was for the studio and the game. And that's what I'm talking about. I had a friend when I was about 22, and we were talking about the bullshit jobs that you get when you're in your early 20s as a university graduate. We both had master's degrees as well, so we were especially like bitter about the fact that we were having to do such monkey's work. And he said he was working for a recruitment agency that would call up the clients, like the company, and try and sell them the candidate, whilst they would also call the candidate and try and sell their services in both directions. And that is a perfectly ordinary, perfectly normal, legit thing to do. You know, if it helps fill skill gaps that companies have or whatever, it's all to the good, and you earn your fee, and you have to work very hard. You have to do a lot of high-volume calls, and you have to be organized and intelligent, and you have to be able to convince people and understand their businesses and their experience, and yada, yada, yada. It is not easy, but this guy was telling me how his dad was just relentlessly taking the piss. His dad was in manufacturing, so he was very old school, and he was just incensed and amused by this idea that a company rents some office space somewhere, get a bunch of computers, hook them up to voice over IP, and just put a bunch of post-grads on the phone. And then find a fucking cheeky way to create candidates and job opportunities that didn't exist before and match them together. They're saying this is the most, like, bullshit type of work ever. I don't quite agree, but it was a very memorable description. This is an old Scottish guy. He was he was a real character. And he was really not into this whole idea. Like, this modern type of work is such bullshit. And he did have a point. That is what I feel like these big gaming events are doing. It's like convincing the director to make the movie because you've got Leonardo DiCaprio involved. And at the same time, you're desperately on the phone with Leonardo DiCaprio saying, look, Steven Spielberg has agreed to be in it, has agreed to direct it, or whatever. And you're trying to make the sale both ways. But if it works... Some unimportant guy. I disagree, Erin says. I can't see why. Yeah, you can't see a lot of things. So you need one big one to serve the salad in and a bunch of small ones to eat the salad out of. Eating out of a transparent glass bowl. That's rare. That feels very old school to me. Feels very 70s.
I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah, what else happened this year? So no fans of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I guess. Just me. Doom, The Dark Ages. That was one of the big events of the year for us. We did... I don't think we've ever celebrated a game launch quite like that. We did a Doomathon where we played hours and hours and hours of every single Doom game ever. Makes some sense, Erin? I'm too lazy for that. I just eat my salad without dicing it. Maya's started getting really creative with the salads. There's all this, like, it's a decent salad, but then she will add a couple of slices of grilled halloumi. Or she'll add some croutons. Or some balsamic vinegar drizzle. Or some seeds, some, like, toasted pumpkin seeds. Some avocado chunks. Like, and it gets to the point where it's a whole other salad on top of the original salad. I'm not complaining, it's bloody delicious, but, not the salads I had when I was a kid. Dark Metal, Doom the Dark Ages was better / more fun than I expected. It was less fun in some ways than I expected, because not being able to imagine what they would do, my head was in the space of Doom Eternal 2, please. And I was really excited for that idea. I knew that's not what they were going for. So on the one hand, I thought, well, the soundtrack is a slight downgrade from Mick Gordon. The gameplay loop, is definitely a downgrade from Doom Eternal. And there are a lot of cinematics in this. That doesn't feel like Doom. Give me the action. Give me the splatter. Go for it. Stop pausing the gameplay to tell me a story. But at the same time, the soundtrack was amazing. The gameplay loop was amazing. The cinematics were amazing. So even though they weren't what I was hoping for / expecting from that particular game, yeah, they blew me away. So on the one hand, it wasn't as good as I hoped it would be, but then when I realized what it was, I was delighted to see how fucking great they had made this game. Having made all those choices, right? We're going to have a lot of cutscenes. We're going to really world build. We're going to introduce characters. We're going to have a sweeping cinematic scope to this story. We're going to have melee combat, all of this stuff. Having made all of those decisions, which could easily have downgraded the game, I think they came out swinging. I think they came out swinging. They did great, in my opinion, with that. Also a copy of Space Marine 2. Aaron, I did not play any new games this year except for Monhun Wilds, sorry. Monster Hunter, I see. Monhun. Took me a moment, man. Took me a moment, I'm sorry. Yeah, I still haven't played that. The gameplay looks great. It just looks a little bit silly. You know? In a way that I sort of struggled to get past. There are plenty of things in other games. Like, I was just talking about Doom, for goodness sake. That's a very silly game. But, yeah, something about it just doesn't click with me immediately. But I'd really love to try. But it's just one of those things, like, I'm less likely to make the leap and spend money on it. And not being, like, particularly engrossed in the franchise or the series. Yeah, 2 free copies. That's nice. Have you got another copy lying around? Belorda, I mean, serving your salad in a leaf-shaped glass bowl, full-on German experience. Yeah, it's also very... I think that just sounds like a very dated experience. Which, in a lot of ways, might be a defining thing about, like, from a British standpoint. Or certainly from an American standpoint. Going into parts of Europe, continental Europe, it is a bit like going back in time in terms of fashion and things like that. I'm talking decor, restaurant decor especially, that kind of thing. That's not even a diss. But maybe it's not a uniquely German thing. Also a copy of Space Marine 2, yeah man. Where Vezok is carrying me. Dark Metal, my expectations were so very low.
Hello there.
For Doom the Dark Ages. Hey Maya, how you doing? Hello there. Everybody give it up for Maya. Hey look Maya, we got lovely, lovely gifted subs from Erin and Dark Metal today. That's another week we can eat. Well, another 48 hours. Oh, thank you Dark Metal. There's Maya. Getting cheers. Amazing! Maya! 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 Ah, look at that. I love the love for Maya. It's great. Yeah, Monster Hunter is silly. Yeah, there we go. Aaron, I'm learning a lot today. But it has the best co-op experience. See? I just needed somebody to crystallize it like that. I don't think any of the reviews that I read really got into that side of it. But that's the thing when you read a very writerly review of something. Thank you, Lily. There's a tendency, if you're reading like a very professional review of a video game, like Elder Scrolls 6, I'm sure will have this. Doom definitely had it, Monster Hunter had it. They will talk a lot about the ins and outs of the series so far, and how this compares, how it stacks up. And I'm like, I don't have that context. So you need to give me the more, you need to take it a couple of steps down, closer to dumbass territory. And just give me the idiot's guide, you know? So thank you, Erin, for getting on my level, and just giving me some more of the basics, because I've literally not heard anyone say co-op is the reason. Like, co-op is the thing. Is that like a universally held opinion, or do you think that's particularly you that feels that way?
Your gold looks better in our vaults than traded for some frilly foot coverings. Bear in mind, the greatest...
Thanks for the
treasure of
calm,
all is
Lily.
frugality.
Appreciate it. Did I miss any chat above all of that? Of any games out there, also the best character creator. Yeah, it's the best co-op and character creator of any game. It looks freaking gorgeous as well. The monsters look great, the characters look great. And, you know, visuals aren't everything, but they're not nothing. They can really help. They can really help sell an experience which is already cool. They can level it up a little further. That's absolutely true. I'm glad that video games and gamers aren't just, you know, we're not just obsessed with visuals now. There was a brief period where that seemed to be all it was about. You don't want that. But it's not like they count for nothing. Well, thank you again for the cheers and the subs. We really, really do appreciate it. And Aaron said, the problem with reviews is that for them the game ends when the campaign ends. When a Monster Hunter, the campaign is just kind of the tutorial for the end game. Yes, with a game like that, that's going to be very hard to review as well. ESO is another great example. Because not only that, what you just said also applies here. You play the story when it released, and it's like, well, there are no trials in the game yet. How can we really review this? It hasn't been added yet. The original way that it worked on release was not very well received. It was... They'd made some missteps in their design choices, it turned out. And they then had to course correct. And, you know, that was a good move. But it means that when people look up reviews of The Elder Scrolls Online, they're looking at things from late 2014 or mid-2014, when the game was initially reviewed. And that's gotta frustrate the devs so hard. Because those reviews are probably accurate, but they hadn't touched the end game because it didn't really exist yet. Let alone the amount of changes that the game has been through. So yeah, the idea that you can get an accurate review in a situation like that, and it's got to affect so many live service games. To varying degrees. Yeah, it's a good point, Erin. Yeah. Gotta go now, Lily. Have a fun stream. Thank you. See you later, hopefully. Have a nice lurk and a lovely, lovely week. Hopefully catch you tomorrow. Thanks for meows as well. Likes to play catch. Appreciate those. Meow. The Ted is not having a great time. He's still a little bit sick after his ordeal late last week. He's sort of stumbling about. But he is, beginning to eat and the other thing a little bit more stably. Stabilizing himself. But yeah, there's been a lot of, stressing and watching out for the cat and stuff, which I don't appreciate, but it is what it is. If you care about your pet, you are going to worry about them when they're not well. But it didn't really help. It was not what we needed this weekend in order to relax and have fun. But yeah, thanks for the meow. It reminds me to keep an eye on him, if nothing else. Alright, other favourite moments. So Split Fiction, Tenfest, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Doom. Oh yeah, Heretic and Hexen, those remasters that came out. We did those for Games Fest, man. That's another highlight, I should say. Games Fest was an unbelievable amount of work for me, but it was also the most buzz I think we've ever had on this channel. And I am definitely going to do it again. Definitely. Probably way before September rolls around. But I shit you not. Just try to imagine how much work I put into it and how much time I had left for anything else in my life. I'm talking showers, eating, speaking to my wife, walking the dog, cleaning the house, just doing playing video games even that I wanted to play. It was tough. So I bit off a little more than I could realistically chew over a sustainable long-term period, but I definitely want to do it again because it was fucking crazy. For those who don't know, Games Fest was just Twitch has September where everyone tries to grub for extra subs because they're a little bit cheaper, and we were no exception. We need the subs to survive, to keep doing this, and we absolutely appreciate the support, but it needs to happen. Just like everyone else. But we decided to do something a little bit different. We decided to put on a show for the entire month. and we had some stretch goals which we hit, which meant in the end I did something like 44 days of continuous streaming. We'd play a different game every single day, and we would talk about its history, its development. We would comment on the user experience, what it did really well, what was dated about it. These were brand new games. Borderlands 4 launched in the middle of Games Fest, and we played it on the day. There was old games. Doom was in there, you know, the OG. There were so many. It was everything in between. Knights of the Old Republic was one of the highlights there, and I'm really glad I included it, because a lot of you probably had never seen that game. And now we've had a grand announcement that a sequel of sorts is coming. Or at least a continuation of that series, if not a direct sequel. So I thought it was an incredibly interesting thing to do. Got to find a way to do it again and make it a little bit more manageable for me. Less putting me into an early grave kind of thing. Ninja Balls is turning 5 in February, Maya. That's crazy. Can't believe that. But what I'm saying, my most exciting game moment was getting my first trial trifecta. My whole body was shaking because I didn't want to fail. Ah, that's wild. I don't think I quite grokked that it was your first. But yeah, I'm the type, I just don't tell anyone when something happens. When I get my Planesbreaker, no one will know, except the people in my group. But other people are like running around. I want to tell everyone this awesome experience I just had. I just process these kind of things very differently. But I didn't realize it was your first. Now I understand the excitement a little bit more. Or maybe you did mention it and I just forgot. But they're fun to do, and it's fun to get that affirmation that no, I am good at this game. God damn it, I'm good enough to get all these supposedly difficult achievements. Yeah, I fucking am. Even if we don't need it, it's nice to have that shot in the arm every now and again. Even in something as relatively low stakes as a video game. If it's the psychology doesn't go away just because it's not a real world thing, you know? So that's cool. Congrats on that again, Balorda. You've got several now, haven't you? You've just been knocking them out. And Shapeless with a very, very lovely comment. You guys absolutely rock this year. All that time it shows. Like, for real, the lever of efficiency. OMG. Level of efficiency, I guess. Sorry. I had to decode that one on the fly. Well, thank you. Thank you, man. If it shows, then I'm delighted. I really, really had a blast just dipping into the history of game development. I came across some great quotes. This thing about Gabe Newell and his philosophy of reactivity. That if you move in the game, if you do something in the game, even if it is just moving down that corridor, you want the world to react to what you're doing. You want the world to react to your presence in some way, in some small way. You cannot go too long without without something happening, and that design philosophy was baked into Valve games from the very beginning. Man, that explains so much of what made them brilliantly effective as a studio, right? And that was the thing I learned, and it really solidified for me because of all the research and the documentaries I watched and all the shit that I read and all the games that I played for Games Fest. And the thing about, I can't even remember whose quote this was, but it was the thing that I came across a couple of times. This idea of not critiquing, but evaluating games based on where they have spent their money. And it was the thing we talked about a lot in Dragon's Dogma, because it's very easy for somebody like me, who's played Skyrim, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, these kind of very, very story-rich, very world-built games, to go into Dragon's Dogma 2 and think, man, this world is super generic, super corny, it's lame, why would I play this when they haven't made the effort? The point is, they deliberately didn't spend a huge amount of time and resources on that because they wanted a fantasy game with unbelievably tight, dynamic, satisfying combat. and they were happy for the world and the setting to then be a little bit less remarkable, shall we say. Whereas Skyrim and The Witcher, these are great examples of the exact opposite. The world feels brilliantly developed. There's a uniqueness. It doesn't feel hack. It's really intriguing. You want to know more. Yet the combat feels a little bit undercooked, and it's not anywhere near as satisfying as a typical action game. And that's the key to appreciating some of these games, isn't it? It's like bearing in mind what the devs actually tried to do. Like that thing I've said about WoW. You know, initially I struggled with WoW because I came expecting deep world building, cool storylines, dynamic combat. It didn't have any of those things because it wasn't really trying to do any of those things. So I was just barking up the wrong tree. Man, I always go the wrong way for this. This freaking... Where is it even? It's just this one, yeah. So often I take the wrong turn. But thank you again, Shapeless. Awesome. And Belorda, I was only able to start playing Trials regularly this year. I see, because there were some things in my life which prevented me from joining trial groups before. Well, there we go. Still, even if you knew deep down, like, yeah, it's just a time thing. I'll go and get those when I have the time, if I have the time. Now that you have the time, going to get them must have felt great. I can see why you were excited about it. It's awesome. And Zdenya, who doesn't seem to be here at the moment, but he said a few times recently in Discord and here on Twitch that, man, I wish I had dropped my concerns earlier about veteran content. Been getting into veteran dungeons and trials and just having an absolute blast. And realizing, fuck, I can do this. I can do this. I'm more than capable of all of these things. Should have done it months ago. Very cool. So yeah, those are the main ones for me, the big ones. Other cool moments that I wrote down when I was literally scrolling through a calendar of things that happened in gaming this year. Oh my god, there was a lot. There was a game which I'm super sad I missed. Check this out. I can't believe we missed this game, guys. It's called Panty Party Perfect. I did not click on it. I did not want to know any more than that. But the title just made me crack up. Panty Party Perfect. It's an actual game that released this year. But other cool things that did happen this year but weren't like on the top of my mountain. Dawn of War remaster. That was just a fucking delight. What a great game. And again, we played that during Games Fest. And I tried to make the case for why this is a magnificent synthesis of all the best things that you can get out of RTS. It's really, really strong. So that got a remaster, which is always a delight. Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm not really an Assassin's Creed guy. They're very mainstream games. I always love the way they look. And I love Ubisoft's art direction, all the different studios that are responsible. I love the level of detail they go into with the vegetation, the type of architecture, incredible levels of detail, like Rockstar levels of detail, beyond what you really need to do to sell a big console hit like an Assassin's Creed game. So, I have some respect, but they're not really my... I don't sit up, bolt upright in my seat for the new Assassin's Creed game. I don't get that hyped. But Shadows was really strong. It was gorgeous looking, and it was a better game than I expected. The Indiana Jones DLC, which I'm a little bit sad I still haven't made time to finish, but Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, again, a game I wasn't expecting anything from. I guess I didn't know what to expect until about a year ago when it came out, and then I realized that Machine Games had created a hilariously funny game. Because those movies are funny, right? No matter how many people get shot and killed or beaten up, or how great the level of threat is, or whatever, they're very, very funny. They're tongue-in-cheek, and the adventure is never far from... It's never very far away. You know, every corner they turn, there's another, like, caper just waiting. And the game captured that really well, so I'm looking forward to playing through that expansion. Borderlands 4, I know that doesn't need any support from me. It was a huge hit, but it was a lot of fun. And it was kind of a return to form for the series. It did have weak performance issues at launch, which was a bummer, but they seem to have fixed some of that. I had fun in Dune Awakening. Remember that? That was really cool and beautifully designed. I did have my issue with that, and maybe it would have gone away if I'd played it for longer and got into the end game, but my issue with it was like, why any of this? Like, why are we here? What's the purpose? It felt a little bit aimless at the end of the day. Because it wasn't doing that much storytelling. It was a survival game first. So I'd have the same problem with ESO if it was primarily a survival game and it was all about systems. I'd be like, well, I'm here because I want to learn more about Tamriel and her people, and I want more context when Elder Scrolls 6 finally comes out. This is like my homework until that game is happening. That's a very mean thing to say about ESO, but to a degree, that is one of the reasons I play it. You know, I like the lore and the world and all that stuff. I can't be the only one who sees it like that a little bit. And Dune Awakening didn't really seem to have any of that. It was just... You're here in this setting that you know from the books and movies. That's a very cool setting, but... I don't know, it didn't feel like they were taking me anywhere. I was just building bases and leveling up. But man, in terms of base building and leveling up, those are some of the most fun you can have, seemingly. That and Enshrouded absolutely nailed that feel. James Rigsby, how's it going? Been on Path of Exile 2 lately, but I've been watching to see what the new guy in charge brings to ESO. Interesting. Well, we got a new video coming up. Hopefully in the next couple of days. It's pure speculation, but it is a little bit about that, you know, personnel changes, leadership changes, I should say, and the things that they tried this year and that didn't work, like the Writhing Wall. You know, a very cool concept, a success in some ways, a failure in other ways. Like, it wasn't a disaster, but a lot of people were bummed by the way that went down. And for reasons that are totally justified, in my opinion. So, the studio has heard this feedback. What do we think they might do instead? Or differently? Or, but you know, that's kind of what the video is going to be about. But very speculative. Probably in in a month or two, we'll get some announcement from Zos about 2026, and it'll be like, everything we said in that video was totally wrong. Oops. But whatever, it's fun to speculate. So yeah, maybe check that one out, James Rigsby, if you are keeping an eye on the YouTube channel.
There.
Hey Cyborg, welcome on in, how you doing? And Aaron saying I will play Dawn of War soon enough. Well, Dawn of War 4 is coming. And Warhammer 40k, Total War, is also coming. Man, there's going to be a lot of 40k strategy going on in the near future. In the near future, in the grim darkness of the near future, there is only war. My throat was not warmed up for that, sorry. I fucked it. You fucked it up! Lord, joining the Ninja Balls community is also one of the nicest things I experienced this year. Ah, thank you, Maya Khan, and all of you guys hanging out here. Thank you for making the community and our lives a little bit more fun. But Lord, it is absolutely a two-way thing. It's not even a two-way thing. It's like there are so many people responsible collectively for the vibe, that we have on this stream and on the Discord. Obviously on the stream it mostly comes down to me and Maya, and hopefully we can get you guys to you know, chime in and get on board with all that. But so many of the laughs I've had on stream have been because of chat, not because of anything that Maya or I did. You know what I mean? And same in Discord, even more so. On Discord and in-game, it's the people who are stepping up, posting funny things, helping each other out, leading raids and whatever else when I don't have the time. Super grateful to all of you. It's why we're here. If we were just screaming out into the void, even if we were making twice as much money, I don't think we'd still do it. It's the fact that it is a... It becomes a sort of a network of interactions. The word community is tossed around a lot, isn't it? But at the end of the day, it's exactly the right word for what we're talking about. But thank you for the lovely comment, brother. That's super sweet. Thank you too, of course. Yeah, Dark Metal making that argument for me. I'm drinking ginger tea right now. Which one are you? Alright, what have we got? We've got some shit in Craglawn. If anyone wants to do something, by the way, hit me up. We could do dungeons, we could do whatever. I've got almost an hour still to spare. I don't think we'll do any Cyberpunk today. Probably don't have time to get into that. Why am I going this way? That's not the right way. What else happened this year? This is what I mean. It was quite a big year, and I haven't even got to the list of things that I missed out on. Crazy. System Shock 2 got a cool remaster. Neverwinter Nights 2 as well. These were cool things for me that I like to see. I haven't actually played the Neverwinter Nights 2 remaster. Not yet. Hang on, what? Am I going just completely stupid way here? Cyborg, I only follow 2 ESO players' channels on Twitch. Covers everything I need. Well, I'm hoping this is one of them. Otherwise, that is a backhanded insult. Nice to see you, Cyborg. How you doing? I hope you're having a good week so far. Happy Tuesday and all that. And thank you for being here. I've been trying to do my best to keep you guys like up to speed, make sure that we are providing at least some commentary and guidance on changes in ESO. I'll tell you my biggest regret this year, and it is not something I've done wrong. It's just a series of choices and necessities that we've had to adapt to. I haven't had time to update DPS guides a lot this year. I've made like 3 DPS videos since subclassing came out, which sucks. I feel genuinely awful about that. I hate it. I had the idea that people are going to the website, oh, I want to see what Ninja Pulse has posted. Nothing. It's still old. I mean, the builds are still good, but it's old. It's like 6 months old now. So I really, really want to find a way, because I'm working on the DPS stuff in the background, but there's just too much. It gets drowned and held underwater until the bubbles stop by all the other things that we got going on. And also, the other reason, DPS guides don't make us money. Which, I hate to be that guy who just leans on that as an excuse, but that ultimately is why they've fallen by the wayside. But yeah, that is the thing that we will fix. I hope. Likes to play catch. I can definitely say that being here and becoming a member of Ninja Pulse and joining in on anything and everything I can within game has been a massive highlight for me. Thanks, man. That's awesome to hear. If I wasn't greeted with the most amazing welcome and finally feel like I found my forever home here with you all, yeah, without you guys I probably wouldn't be as happy as I am most days. Thank you all. Holy crap. Wow, that is a lovely, lovely message. I feel like we should save some of these sentiments for when Maya is here. But yeah, I mean, if you've got like big gaming moments, they don't have to be about ninja pulls or ESO or anything like that. Anything like Erin saying, best co-op experience of games ever. I had it this year with Monster Hunter Wilds. That is, I'm delighted to hear it, and I'm also interested to hear it because now I'm even more likely to skeg out that game when I finally get a chance, if I ever get a chance. And even if I don't, it's useful to know that is one of the things that that's one of the reasons why it's in the mix. Subclassing has made a huge dent on guide content on YouTube. Yeah. Skinny Cheeks was telling me that he got way more negative comments than he usually does. I mean, one always gets some. But he said he got so many on his last 2 videos, and it's not like the videos are bad. They're not at all. They're great, as always. But they are refreshes of his Templar, you know, Arcanist Beam, Templar Beam, and his Ardent Flame and Fate Carver setups. It's those 2, which is absolutely right. That's exactly what I would do if I were making 2 DPS update guides for the current patch. That is literally the 2 that I would choose. Because, yeah, they're the 2 most popular. I might do Rune Blades as well. Can't remember, but whatever. Point is, he's getting a little bit of heat for not doing anything fresh. And it's like, well, I don't make the rules. I'm simply communicating what the current meta looks like and giving you guys some pointers on how to follow it, how to adapt to it. So he's doing the usual great job, and people are just a little bit bored of the status quo. So that sucks. Hey, speaking of things that suck, we got the Worm Cult right here. I should say, an unexpected gaming highlight of the year was actually Seasons of the Worm Cult for me. I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to say it's the best, or I'm sure there are players who don't like it or who won't like it if they play it. They won't have the same feelings about it that I did. I thought it was great. I really loved bits of Western Solstice and Eastern in particular. I just dug the whole type of story that they were telling there. You know, it was like a Fellowship of the Ring type. We got our crew together, and we're gonna stay with these characters for an extended period of time. I mean, all of the stories are like that to a degree, but this one in particular, you felt like a band of brothers, a band of adventurers, and I think they even could have gone further. In many ways, my biggest disappointment was that they didn't explore the relationships between the characters a little bit further. Like, there's rich stuff in there. Scordo the Knife doesn't have a huge amount of respect. He, like, respects Azar from a distance at the beginning. He's like, you know, the guy's a capable general. He'll make a fine leader, blah, blah, blah. But he calls him the Little Prince as sort of a dunk. And by the end, he's like, holy crap, this Azar is an absolute legend. I would follow him into hell and back. And to see more of that play out, they could have been so cool. But, and that was only like a few weeks ago. I actually took the time to play through it. It was around the time that the fortress popped up during the event and the wall finally came down. That was when I finished Western Solstice on the live server and then went into Eastern Solstice and actually played through it. Really cool. James Rigsby on YouTube saying, I've heard that the new focus will be on pure builds to offer something for those not mixing class skills. It's gonna be, where is Maya? Is she well? Yeah, Maya's doing alright. She's struggling a little bit. We both had, like, a flu that just won't fucking quit. Excuse my language. But you get the frustration. We're not the only ones. We've got streamers around the world. Australia, UK, Germany, America, France, saying similar things. Like, oh man, I've had a cold a few weeks ago or a couple of weeks and it's just not going away. So I am mostly, I've been like 95% recovered for a while now, but I'm still not 100%. It's still like 98, ticking up towards 99. You just know, I can feel it in my throat if I'm streaming for more than a couple of hours. I feel that very quickly, that it's like tired and croaky. But yeah, Maya's still feeling that a little bit, but blah, 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 blah. She's doing all right. Thank you for asking. And it's not going to be pure classes. It's going to be all skill lines are getting a refresh. All class skill lines are getting a thorough modernization. So, best case scenario is that after this process is finished, it'll take a long time. It might take as long as 2 years, which seems crazy, but if the devs are going to do it right, they kind of need to take their time. Gilliam gave he sort of gave us an example of how long it takes to rework Surprise Attack, for example. Even if you're sticking with the core concept, then you come up with a new visual for it. Or just a tweaked visual. Does it feel good? You come up with the tooltip and everything, and then that is all sent off, and then it takes like a month to come back, then it takes a month of iterating, and then a month of finalizing, so it's like 3 months just for one skill sometimes. Obviously they don't do one skill at a time, they do as many as they can at once, but that's why it's taking them so long. So they've already started on the Warden. The DK sounds like it's in post-production. Warden is maybe in pre-production. So they're going to be rolling these out one by one. And I think the idea is that every single skill line will be attractive for some reason. Every single one. Like DDs, tanks, healers will look at every single skill line and there'll be something for them there. There will still clearly be skill lines that... No, DDs are going to go for Ardent Flame. Tank is going to go for Earthen Heart. I don't know. I'm sure there will still be favorites. That's not a problem. We don't want everything to be flat and the same. That's part of the problem with subclassing. It's created outliers and everything else is flat. So what we want is identity, flavor, theme, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, the goal, as I understand it, is to reinforce the theme that each class is supposed to have. Not change it, but to like modernize it and come up with better ways to make Nightblades and Sorcerers and Arcanists feel equally powerful without just making their tooltips equal the same number. You know? Gilliam literally used the phrase spreadsheet balancing or something like that, which is an accusation we, the players, throw at the devs all the time, right? Quit using spreadsheets to balance the classes. And he admitted that when you're doing a reactive balance change, like Sorcerer's Spammable is shit compared to Fate Carver or Surprise Attack or Biting Jabs or whatever, then yeah, you're just going to use maths to do a numbers tweak. You're just going to move the values. But so that's not enough. That's not what they're doing. It's not about rebalance. They're doing a complete overhaul from top to bottom. And we've seen some chatter about the DK already. And they're saying that it feels completely refreshed. Like, I don't know how... I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to give the devs too much credit because we haven't touched it. We haven't even seen it yet. But Wheeler and Gilliam were there on that stream, that live stream they did just a week or so ago, saying, oh my god, it feels amazing. The DK has never felt this good. And I just hope, even if the balance isn't perfect to begin with, if they can just restore that, if they can make everything feel as satisfying as... Well, Fate Carver to me can be very satisfying. Crystal Frags, Bow Proc, Stampede sometimes... detonating siphon when it works, you know, Flames of Oblivion, and these are skills that can be pumped up, but there are lots of others that just don't feel that good, and we use them because they're strong, not because we necessarily are entertained by having them in our rotation. So, as I understand it, that is a big part of what they're trying to do. The user experience. Get that right, and the balance becomes less urgent and also easier to solve. And Cyborg, yeah, of course you're included. I'm good, thanks. Preparing for a week-long trip to somewhere warm. Fantastic. That's awesome. Shapeless was saying at the beginning of the year, I called it, it's going to be a nothing year, an in-between year, and it was. But ended up being a build-up year, so 2026, here we go. Yeah, man, there was a lot more, looking back on the year, there was a lot more than I had given it credit for. But yeah, I kind of thought of it in the same terms. It was a bit of an in-betweener, but there was like low-key, quite a lot of cool stuff happening. And the Flizzash on YouTube saying, just had to call my son in sick to school because he's a sore throat and fever. 'Tis the season. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The thing I was particularly commenting on was these ones are taking such a long time to go away. Like, get lost already. I gave the example of like the Terminator in the first movie when Sarah Connor shoots it, crushes it, takes its legs off, all of that stuff, and it's just crawling around after her. That's what I feel like this bloody flu has been doing. You know, I vanquished it ages ago, but it's just won't let up. And hey, Gilly, how you doing? I'm very well, thank you, Gilly. You having a good day so far? Hope you are too. A good start to the week. How was your weekend? Haven't seen you since Saturday. And thanks, Cyborg. Good to know we're in the mix there. But Lord, I can repeat mine for Maya because she really deserves it. Maya deserves it more than anyone. As hard as I have worked this year, she has worked twice as hard. And as much love as I've had from you guys this year, she has had half as much. You know, because she's not here. She's working so that I can do this. And I think by and large, I've made the most of that time that she's given me, that she's given us. But this is a difficult thing to get off the ground. Because, you know, we're not teenagers. We don't live with our parents. We are running a full household here. And getting streaming and content creation to cover that, it's doable. But especially Twitch is so, it's so fickle. As you guys can imagine, some of you have tried streaming, I'm sure, and 1 month you'll make 3 times what you made from the previous month. Even ad revenues go up and down and all over the place. Feels like a very cruel place to be sometimes. But it's worth it because of the interaction with you guys, basically. Yeah, Erin, each, I'm assuming we're talking each patch. Earlier they were guaranteed 7 to 15 DPS guide videos, 7 tank guides, 1 or 2 healer guides. I don't need guides, but they were fun to watch and support creators with. Yeah, and you can often learn a new trick. Like, oh, I didn't realize how good that was. You know, those are my favorite ones to make. That one that I made for Nightblade. Nightblade is better than you think. And it was. People were like, holy shit, I didn't realize it was this good. And I showed the evidence. I showed videos of my Dawnbringer where I was coming top single target DPS in every fight. There was an Azure Blight Necro in there who was soaring away on the cleave front, as you would expect. But yeah, I remember getting so many comments like, oh, wow, thank you, I had no idea. Same with the Necromancer when I said Necro ain't dead. And we had that, the fist coming out of the ground with the knuckle dusters on it. You know, the bone hand with the knuckle duster. That was the first time I used AI in a thumbnail. I still made it myself, but I used AI to get the hand coming out of the ground and then put the knuckle dusters on top using Photoshop. Big fun. That was one of our biggest videos at the time because people were like, yeah, I genuinely didn't realize how competitive Necro was. I just believed everyone in zone chat or in group chat saying Necro is dead, don't play it, it's shit. See, zone chat, often not helpful. Not encouraging. Yeah, the reason flu vaccines exist. Yeah, man. Yeah, when it sucks, say it sucks. Exactly. Yeah. The body's more complex than that. Sure, I'm not in the age bracket where flu vaccines are generally recommended for me. I think you can get them on the National Health Service here in the UK. And like my parents go and get them every year because they're older, and it's advised once you get over a certain age. A flu can become genuinely dangerous in the same way that COVID was dangerous to a lot of people. Not everyone, but yeah. A lot of people throw the spreadsheet thing, especially at Gilliam. Yeah, and he defends its use in that sometimes it's all we've got. But now that we're going back to... We're giving ourselves the space to properly redo these classes. Why would we use that method? Which is exactly the right thing to say, in my opinion. So far, all we've got is talk. We haven't seen any of the goods yet, but... Man, I've got my fingers crossed. If they get this right. Doggo barking at a lady in the streets. Did she step a little bit too close to the house? Good girl. Yeah, once we actually get our hands on this, and if they do it right, man, my hopes will be high. I'm just gonna say, inevitably, it is a huge and difficult project. This is a difficult thing to get right. Especially because the perspectives within dev are very different sometimes from the perspectives that we have as players. You know? Sometimes, and I don't just mean that they're always wrong and we're always right. Right. Sometimes it's the other way around. Players regularly ask for things that they actually do not want. Like easier content, for example. So many people who play ESO would say they want the game to be easier, or they would have said this a couple of years ago. Now that the game has become easier and easier and easier with every passing year, almost every passing patch, increasingly people are getting wise and saying, actually, easier often means more boring. Not always. Not always. I, for one, have had more fun than ever in Maelstrom Arena with those incredibly easy builds that we were bringing in there on stream. So it's not always the case, but you know what I mean. Gamers are often the turkeys voting for Christmas. It's not a gamer thing. It happens in all... It's just human. It's a human thing, right? But, yeah, be careful what you wish for. It's that kind of thing, right? Yeah, the hand should do a middle finger goodbye, the bone one, shapeless. Nice. Gilly saying, I'm good. Did a Final Fantasy trial yesterday with some guild friends. Whoever designed that trial is a sadist. I've never died so much. And but Lord, okay, gotta make that Rooibosh feel like a Duracell bunny right now. Yikes. Yeah, we gotta have the flu at least once a year. Erin saying is how we keep our virus registry updated. That is... Again, a bit simplistic, but quite a nice way of looking at it. I like that. Erin has started streaming from last week. No way! And the best part was making emotes. I love drawing, and streaming gave me an avenue to make emotes. I love doing that. I love making GIFs and animations and stuff. I just don't have time. I never get time. If you would have a million custom ninja things, like the little ninja that comes out of the Twitch bits, I made that. I animated that, and when somebody... When is it that we get the confetti? Is that when somebody gifts a sub? I'm not fishing here. I'm not trying to get someone to do it. But we get the little ninja face bouncing and happy with confetti raining down. I hand animated all of those confetti fragments in 3D. Obviously, I drew the ninja face. I designed it. There were like 5 different versions before we got to the one that we have now. Yeah, I love all that shit. Design is my thing.
Delightful.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, there's probably a massive lag between what I'm saying and yeah. But yeah, the Twitch bit opening up and then closing back again. Just designing little things that you can then keyframe animates. I love it. It's really fun and therapeutic, but it is not a not exactly a money spinner. So I rarely get the excuse to spend real time on it. Say no more. You got to follow her. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. I learned to do animations over a weekend. Yeah, there we go. Keyframe animation is like one of the most genius things. When I first started using it, I thought, this is fucking clunky and so basic. But then you realize, actually, due to the power of mathematics, it can be incredibly powerful. And a huge number of things are animated using, if not literal keyframes, then basically the same tech, the same concept. Very fun. Likes to play catch. Nice, well done. Wish I was more creative with that stuff. Would have to buy my graphics. Thinking about using an avatar instead of a face cam, as I'm rather self-conscious at the moment. Having my teeth out, etc. I mean, as I've shown, you don't even need an avatar. Go for it, but it's not necessary. You can just stream. I would always prefer for the game to be showcased above everything else, but I think I'm probably in the minority with that. I think that's actually an example of what I was just talking about. I think I want one thing, but actually greater engagement with the streamer is probably the way to go. But yeah, I gotta catch your streams as well, guys. That's the other thing. That's the other thing. I haven't had, like, over the summer, especially after 10 Fest, I spent a lot of time hanging out with Okui, Pain in the Axe, Skinny Cheeks, Kamul, Bislobo. You know, all these great streamers that we have. Tatanko, Rather Dashing, and so many more. Sainira as well. Used to hang out with her around again, and it would be like, you'd sometimes hop between two or have a couple running at the same time. And I miss that, man. I literally don't have time for it anymore. Ugh. So I'm hoping 2026, let's make it better than 2025 in several key ways. But like Shapeless was saying, let's hope that 2025 has been a groundwork laying year in a lot of ways. I suspect it has been in ESO. That's largely the crux of the video that is coming in the next couple of days. It's like, if we look at this year, we've got some pretty strong indicators as to what might be coming. But finally, if we're all up to speed on like favorite moments and cool things that happened this year. Hey Moose, how you doing? Let's think about the things that we missed out on. I'll start with mine. It's a really long list, like I said. How you doing, Moose? Hope you're having a good day so far. Welcome, welcome. And thank you again, Erin, for the bits. Love it. But a lot of my drawing skills are pretty limited. I'm more of a tech girl rather than being creative. The two can intertwine and make beautiful, beautiful babies. Never forget. This is essentially Todd Howard's philosophy with regard to games. He says you need cutting-edge tech or clever use of technology, technological innovation, I guess would be the word, and brilliant art. You know, expressive human art. AI can do some things, but it's not going to fly unless there's real heart and soul there. And I just think that is a lovely, it's a very obvious, but it's a lovely observation from a guy who's cruising at such a high strategic altitude above the gaming industry that it's got to be hard to remember that that's what it's about at the end of the day. You need talented people making art and using innovative tech to showcase it, essentially, to bring it to life. It's where those two things combine that the magic happens. I think that's totally true. And it's the best rebuttal to anyone who's of that like old school outdated mindset that literature, film, and painting, or ballet, or opera, these are real art forms. Gaming is not. Video games are not. Sure, it's different, but there's no reason to draw a line between video games and art. They can coexist. And I think they often do. A tech girl, not really. Friggin' what it says. Shameless. Creative people always need a land cable. We appreciate input to help us not waste that much time. True. But yeah, it's ultimately the reason I'm here doing this is to satisfy a creative urge that I've always had. I remember I had we were quite lucky at my school. This is my school in the UK when I was like 15 to 17. We had a dude who was actually a designer he was a freelance designer, and he taught graphics, as we called it at that school. Graphics and design. And so he really knew his shit. He made quite a lot of money on top of his teacher's salary by designing, I think it was like CAD CAM product design he did quite a lot of. He was a real nerd. In a cool way. I liked him a lot. I remember him being genuinely furious with me when I said I wasn't going to continue with graphics at what in the UK is called the A level. So, you know, from 16 to 18. Because I was like, no, I got to do German, I got to do physics, I got to do maths, English, history. You know, these actual real subjects. I never put it to him like that. But he was fucking fuming because my sister had already done the same to him, and she was even more like good at it than I was. I'll never forget that. The sense of like deep disappointment, and it's like I'd stabbed him in the back. I learned a technical profession. Yeah, anyone can be good at art. Only takes effort and initiative. Yeah, I think that's true. And a medium. You need to find a medium that you can actually work in and that can convey what you're trying to do. But yeah, you're right, Aaron. A lot of it, it's a little bit like getting a trifecta in year so. The hard bit is not what you think. The hard bit is getting the group together to run for the trifecta in the first place. You know, a bunch of people who are on the same page in terms of their schedule, their ability and experience, their goals, their attitude, their fucking social skills. It's a little bit like that with artistic expression. You've got to find all the other things that allow you to do the thing at its core, which is just express yourself in some way and see what the results are and improve. Learn. Yeah, saying as a tech person myself, there we go. I started making some emotes for Herway, yeah, which got very popular. And I've been improving bit by bit ever since. Yeah, man, I remember that. I remember that you were making those. Yeah, they're really fun. We had a Corkery, lovely German girl in the guild for a while. And she loved doing this kind of stuff as well. In the Discord, if you guys have seen the... there's a Dramathra emote, which is like a cat, gold on one side and blue on the other. Really beautiful icon. And the Zamaja, Angry Zamaja, Sweet Zamaja, and Zamaja Kiss. Those were all made by a Corkery, and they're really fun and full of character. That is a real skill, to pack that much expression and character into a tiny cluster of pixels like that. It's a technical and creative feat, I believe, doing that. Changing the oil in a high vacuum pump equals overpainting. I thought it was saying equals. Gotcha. Aaron, I've just used the very brute way for animating. Just made 28 frames and put them all in order. Only took me 8 hours for the first one. And that's yours, is it? What do you use to make that? What software, I mean. But yeah, they work super well. You've definitely got it, whatever it is. On your tablets. Is that Apple? Hang on, you're in India. Of course it's not Apple. Android, yeah. So you literally just draw the thing, save it, tweak it, 1/28th, save it another frame. So stop motion is basically how you're doing it. That will probably give it even more, what's the word? Even more life doing it that way. But it's just a lot harder to tweak. It limits your ability to... Or it makes it harder for you to iterate. Because you have to go through the whole thing again. Whereas if I do a character who, like, wiggles his... It's a character that wiggles its bottom. Or, like, you know, the eyebrows go up and down like a... Like, in an expressive way. A suggestive way. And I think, oh, I can maybe turn that up by a couple of notches. I don't have to redo everything. I just have to go back and find the keyframes that I've chosen. So yeah, it takes longer to get off the ground, I guess, longer to ramp it up, but there's more flexibility in doing it that way. Still, I quite like... it's kind of appealing the way that you're describing it. Just doing it all by hand. Krita on my tablet. Yeah, nice. Comparing video games and ballet is outrageous. Dodging dragons and rotations are more complicated than standing en point and looking elegant. I meant more as, you know, this is art, that is not. You know, people who say things like that, they've either got a well thought out and well-founded argument, you know, which is, you know, they've genuinely given it some thought and they've based it on some pretty, you know, terra firma principles about what art is to them and why this qualifies and why that doesn't. Chances are they've come up with that argument in a fit of sophistry where they say, well, I need to come up with an argument as to why video games are not art, and they find a way to figure it out. They don't start from the principle, you know? That's not quite the definition of sophistry, but it's close enough. So it's either that person or it's the person who's just clueless and hasn't thought about it at all, but they have like a knee-jerk reaction, like immigrants are bad, video games aren't art, rap isn't music, you know, these kind of dumbass things to say that show you have no interest in evidence or knowledge in terms of making a determination or putting something in X or Y bracket. It's interesting. So if someone comes at me with that kind of statement, I don't know, I'm either going to be in for a really stupid conversation, a really stupid exchange, or a really interesting one with someone who's actually thought it through. It's not going to be in between. I think most people would just be like, I don't really know. I'm sure they can be. I heard BioShock was pretty good. You know, the average non-gamer might say something like that. Yeah, Aaron, again, I didn't have time to learn a brand new tool to make animations on, so I just used what I'd already learned. Yeah, I just, I don't know when I found time to do this, but it was during a project for a client where we had... Because Maya and I have been making videos together for a long time. And it was to do with honey. And using honey in cooking. And, you know, we're talking for like glazes, desserts, all kinds of interesting things that you may not have thought of. But there was a little bit about where honey actually comes from. And this is a classic thing. Anyone who's made corporate video will recognize what I'm talking about. You get to that point in the edit where you're like, and this happens with ESO videos as well, where the script is really good. The voiceover sounds great. You've got all the material, and you've got coverage for all of your main points. And then you realize that, oh crap, at this point in the script, we kind of need a graphic. We need an infographic or a stock video of something scientific happening, which we are talking about. And stock video can be extremely expensive. So if you're a small freelancer, what do? Often you will you'll just zoom slowly out of a still image or whatever. What I started doing was to make an animation to illustrate the point. And I remember what I did was I got a flower. I drew a flower, a cartoon flower, and they had the petals. I think they sort of morphed into a honeycomb. And it was the kind of thing which would have been extremely difficult to draw. But using keyframe animation looked beautiful and wasn't that difficult. And I taught myself how to do it. I've taught myself After Effects, Apple Motion, all of these things in order to do that. And it's come in so handy. I've used keyframe animation in so many ESO videos at this point. It's a lot. Like, you don't want to do it if you want to turn around the video quickly and make some money and actually make it worth posting, then you shouldn't get involved in animation. But every now and again, if I'm like, no, I need this video to be absolutely fucking amazing. Like when I did the graphs showing advancing Yokita versus what's it called? Highland Sentinel. You know Highland Sentinel, Berserking Warrior? Did like a comparison of those two. Pre-patch and post-patch when they got updated. And that is an example where an animated graph really helped sell the concept much better than just a static image. It can be really helpful in making your point if you've got the time. But yeah, I know what you mean, Aaron. I'm wondering how on earth I had time to learn this. But it's just the thing, you stay up late a couple of nights in a row to make the video that little bit better. And there's always the hope that this means the client will work with you again. Which is probably deluded on my part. But Lord, sadly, art lessons during school are pretty discouraging. Oh no, that's not what they're supposed to be. I mean, during one of our school project weeks, I joined the group which painted the stage designs for that year's school musical. It's a West Side Story. That's fun. Video games are for superficial people. Yep. Yeah, what a load of crap. Even a superficial game doesn't make you a superficial person if you're playing it. Like Vampire Survivors. That is a game with not a great deal of depth in terms of its story or drama or, the traditional ways in which you would measure artistic value. But it's so polished. It's so beautifully balanced and so well executed and just so goddamn fun. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. But I think there's a lot of ignorant, knee-jerk attitudes out there which just need to they just need time to fade away a little bit. And then the whole discussion about video games can become a little bit more intelligent. I think the same thing within the industry itself. Like, talking about movies earlier, Rob Reiner and his fantastic work in cinema. The genius of Heat, which we just learned is 30 years old as of yesterday, and which I'm definitely going to watch again soon. If I have time for a 3-hour movie. I might have to do it in installments, like take me a week to get through the whole thing. But video games don't have that much of that level of like character development and character moments and character-led storytelling. They do it, like even ESO, which MMOs are relatively shallow when it comes to storytelling, usually. But even in that context, the guys at ZOS are able to do this. Give us some character-led storytelling. But I think we could get a lot more. Like the stuff that we got in Cyberpunk, and which blew so many people away. You know, that really clever weaving of action and drama together in a way which doesn't piss you off. I'm sure there were some people who played the game, and then when Judy shows up to talk to you after the huge shootout, it's like, oh, just click through. Generally, people didn't have that reaction because you actually care. You don't feel like the game is stopping you from getting to the action, because drama, character, is action. And anyone who's paid any attention to cinema, they fucking know this already. Guess what? Character is action. We don't need a shootout, necessarily. Those are fun, but they can go hand in hand. Aaron saying, I loved art as a kid, but had a horrible art teacher at school, which made me lose all the motivation to draw. What a prick. Thanks to him, I never got into art. What a fucking failure. That is literally your job, above all else, is to inspire young people to do this thing, which you apparently love enough to be a teacher in. Sorry, I don't know that person. But I remember there being a recruitment campaign on UK television when I was like 13, 14, something like that. I was old enough to be aware, very, very aware, of which teachers were weak and which ones were shit and which ones were really good. Like, we're lucky to have this person. They could be earning a much bigger salary at a private school somewhere because England is full of private schools, but they choose to be here at this state school where I am at, doing a good job. And the campaign, the slogan for this campaign was, it was always a Scottish guy. No one forgets a good teacher. Or something. I think it was like that. And I remember watching it with my mum and talking to her about this. She was a teacher for many years. And she said, and nobody forgives a bad one either. And that's so long ago now, that exchange. She probably doesn't remember it, but that has stuck with me. It's so true. Nobody forgets a good teacher. Nobody forgives a bad one either. And nor should they. Fuck you for robbing me of this. Or for not bothering to help me understand algebra. Because you couldn't, you know, one half of the class understood it and that was enough for you. Actually loved algebra. But you know what I mean. There were always those people who didn't grok a thing right away. And it just needs another explanation. Or a third or a fourth way of explaining it to get everyone on board. And most teachers, in my experience, did not bother to do that. They would try it twice, and then they would move on, and whatever you guys are doing at the bottom 30% of the class, you're not my problem. So actually they are. They're your responsibility. But anyway, that is a big digression, Erin. But yeah, I couldn't let that comment go unreacted to. Thanks to him, I never got into art. What an absolute spoon. But Lord, I wasn't able to see my work used in the end because I was sick, but my family saw it. My sister had one of the leading roles. Nice. 95% of my teachers were bad. In Denmark, I think I had one teacher who was a bit useless, but he taught woodworking. So it's kind of okay. He was so friendly. In fact, no, if you are able to get on with a class of like 20 kids, you're already doing better than most. So no, let's leave him out of it. He was just not very clever. But he did what he did pretty well, actually. There was one teacher who was bad. In the UK... Now, this is not a comment on the English school system, the British school system at all. But I happened to go to a Catholic secondary school. Right? It's just because of the town that my parents lived in had this primary school, which was very good. And it happened to be Catholic. We are not Catholic. But because all of my friends were being sent to this other school, the default was, oh, we'll send our kids there too. My sister and I both went there. We still kept going to school in Denmark for a few months a year, but yeah, at this point it was vast majority in the UK. And like I said, it worked both ways. We had a handful of teachers who, because of their faith, and their commitment to Catholic education and whatever else, they were too good for that school, you know. But I would say maybe 80% of the teachers they only had their job because of their faith, and they would have been replaced. Not 80%, but there was a larger proportion of teachers that were bad and should not be in that role. But because they were Catholic, and that was an absolute requirement of working there, I don't think there were any non-Catholic teachers allowed to work there, which is mind-bogglingly stupid when you think about it. What has Catholicism got to do with teaching English or science or football, you know, physical education, anatomy, all of that stuff? It's just got nothing to do with it. But whatever, that's the way these kind of institutions work. Very, very traditionalist. So we had a real awkward mix of teachers who were way too good for that place and teachers who sucked and shouldn't be teaching anywhere. And just, they were a joke. And they had the worst time as well. Because I don't know what age it happens, but I think sometime around 13 at the latest, kids definitely discover which teachers are bad and stupid. And, or if not stupid, not gifted, shall we say, and certainly less able to deal with a rowdy classroom. And you just rip them to pieces. So these were the teachers who had the shittest life. But because of some arbitrary religious affiliation, they remained in that post and remained committed to it. It was a real, like, wake-up call for me when I first realized this. And a lot of parents, I remember my buddy and I trying to convince our parents, no, some of these teachers really are that bad. And my mate was Italian. His parents were staunchly Catholic, culturally Catholic. The guy was stepping out on the mum and all that kind of stuff. So they weren't actually doing any of the Catholic things you're supposed to do. But as is so often the case, it was a cultural commitment and a sort of a, you know, an ingrained thing. They were having none of it. They could not cope with this idea that we had a worse education due to the, not because of the faith thing, that generally didn't impede. And the school had way more money. It was way better funded as a result of the Catholic Church. So yeah, there was that. But one of the chemistry teachers was utterly useless. And you wouldn't hire her for anything. She was perfectly nice, but she was not equipped, and they would never fire her because of that. Really weird. It still blows my mind to this day. The commitment to education was so far down the fucking list. You know what I mean? And as I say, and I had terrible art teachers and wonderful art teachers. The terrible, I remember always and forever. I never had a bad art teacher, I don't think. There was one at the school who was a bit of a dick. I think he resented the fact that he wasn't an artist and had gone into teaching instead. But I never had him. I had a lady who was awesome, and she loved me. She loved me. And she was really good. Yeah, Vezok, she wanted to expel me because she thought a sock I drew was a dick. Hey, Lucas Saldana, how you doing? Yeah, we're not really talking about the game right now, sorry. We're just talking about everything and everything else. Hey, Zim, how you doing? Welcome on in. Unfortunately, Cat caught me shortly before I raid off, Zim, but I just wanted to catch up with chat before we go. Vezok, she wanted to expel me because she thought a sock I drew was a dick. My queen of a friend told her that if she thinks it's a dick, shows more about her than me. I had exactly that experience, man. My friends and I wrote when we were about to leave school, so when we were like 18, we wrote the Christmas pantomime for the school, and it was filthy. But mostly in, you know, a Toy Story, making little wink-wink jokes at the adults kind of way. It was perfectly above board. It was all fine. There was nothing in the script was approved by the teachers and everything. But I drew the program for it, and we had an elf in it, which was a Lord of the Rings joke called Legolas, like Legolas, but Legolas as in drunk. And I drew him leaning against a wall, clutching a bottle. But one of the teachers thought the bottle looked like an erect dick, or was supposed to, like, represent an erect penis. And this, it was the dumbest thing. And I'd never had the guts to do this before, but I walked right up to the teacher once I found out who it was. They'd said, no, the program is banned. We can't have the program, even though it had been printed, like, the day before. I went right up to him and said, if you think that's what it is, that says more about you than it does about me. I thought you were supposed to be a goddamn Catholic. What's wrong? You see penises everywhere? Maybe you got some stuff to work on. Like, I actually said this to him. And he just stood there and took it. I knew I was leaving school the following year anyway. I didn't give a shit. This guy didn't teach me. Oh my god. And I was so fed up with how stupid everyone was. I was a real brat. Not to everyone. But, yeah, Vezok, that's so funny. We had literally the same experience. That's weird, man. And hello, Zim! Zim is an awesome streamer that you should go check out and follow. The last thing playing The Elder Scrolls Online. There we go. You've heard it all here. Man, it gets me angry just thinking about that. I was so annoyed. It was such a patriarchal bullshit move. And when you're at that age, you're still in high school, but you're 18? Like, you're ready to be done with that. You know what I mean? But yeah, some of my friends and I were probably way too arrogant at that age. I'm sure that's the case. And unnecessarily cruel to some teachers. But ultimately, we were really sound. I remember having a great goodbye lesson with one of the teachers. She cried because she was going to miss us all so much. She's like, yeah, you're my favorite class ever. That was history. She was fucking awesome. Those are the days, eh? And Gilly Chan said, oh, we're talking about bad art teachers. Everyone's got a story. I had an asshole art teacher who sadly was teaching all craft-related classes. Art, sewing, pottery. In sewing, she favored the students that were already good at it, while the ones who needed help, like me, had to wait forever to her to come help explain. That's so typical. Yeah, this guy who saw the penis where there wasn't one in the, a bottle. Yeah, he was a music teacher, and he would do exactly that. He would leave it was the people who already took piano lessons. Like me, I played the violin, the viola, the piano, the guitar. I could sing. So I was ace at music. He loved us and would give us all the attention. But the people who didn't play an instrument were obviously going to struggle. And he just didn't do a damn thing. Oh. Not good. We really hit a vein thing here. Hey, Zim. A nice streak you got there, buddy. I think of seals in the circus with the ball on the nose. Its tail was raised because the weight was supposed to be in its stomach. Oh, right. In her opinion, that was wrong, and she turned the small tail into what I call a whale tail. Yeah, it sounds like we're touching on some deep-seated wounds here, man. You guys have awakened old wounds for me as well. Had a lot of anger issues when I was younger. I was like, I may or may not have thrown the desk at a teacher once. Fuck. All right, I never did that. Talked to her afterwards, even talked about some other students bullying her. Wow. Anyway, I really do have to go. I'd love to stay and chat. But you guys, we're going to raid off. Give me a moment. And we'll raid off to someone else in The Elder Scrolls Online. Lucas Saldana, if you hate the game so much, don't feel like you have to stay. I really appreciate you sitting through a game you don't like just to hang out with me and my community. That's awesome. But if you mean it, oh my fucking god, this game is so horrible. There are other categories on Twitch. You're very welcome to avail yourself. I don't mean that in a snarky way. Don't feel like you have to engage with things that tick you off. Anyway, I'm gonna raid off to Tatanko, one of the greats. Be nice to him, stay in chat, and give him a follow if you haven't already. Tatanko's great, really nice, chill vibes. As for me, I will catch you guys tomorrow at around 11 o'clock. Have a lovely, lovely day. I'll see you later.